Chapter 612. Next time knock. I don't dare. Tangyan didn't dare to. She didn't want her dream to be destroyed. Huh. How would you know if you don't look? Lin Yi smiled. This isn't like you. You wouldn't be this worried in the past, would you? Lin Yi was right. Tangyan wouldn't be this hesitant in the past. She was a girl who took responsibility for her actions. Tangyan glared at Lin Yi but didn't say anything. She thought, what difference does it make if I'm pretty or not? Not being pretty would save me a lot of trouble. But it was different now. If she wasn't pretty, would he still like her? However, under Lin Yi's persuasion, Tangyan still walked in front of the mirror. She panicked and looked at herself in the mirror. She couldn't help but be shocked. The scar on her forehead was gone. There was only a shallow mark left. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. This is new skin. It'll be different from before, but there won't be any difference after a few days, Lin Yi explained. Is it really that magical? Tangyan couldn't believe it. She had 8 stitches on her forehead. Although Lin Yi removed them in the end, it was still a mess of flesh and blood. In just one day, she recovered to her original appearance. Was she dreaming? There's nothing magical about it. Dr. Kang's golden creation can achieve this effect a long time ago. Lin Yi didn't think that what he did was magical. Dr. Kang's golden creation. How can my family afford it? I've never used it before. How would I know? Tangyan was so happy that she was hopping around the room like a little bird. When she saw her mother come in, Tangyan jumped in fright and almost fell down. Lin Yi quickly supported Tangyan. Tangyan fell into Lin Yi's arms. Mrs. Tang came to check on her daughter's condition, afraid that she'd be depressed. After all, Mrs. Tang hadn't seen Lin Yi's medicine with her own eyes. She didn't know if Tangyan could recover. She saw her daughter and Lin Yi being intimate. Mrs. Tang coughed awkwardly. I'm going out for a walk. Mom. Tangyan was embarrassed as she struggled out of Lin Yi's embrace, not daring to look at Mrs. Tang. She was pissed off that she'd fallen when her mother opened the door and walked in, not daring to look at her. This was so embarrassing. Did her mother think that she was throwing herself into Lin Yi's arms? I'll knock first next time, Mrs. Tang thought to herself. My daughter is all grown up now. It looks like I'll have to be more careful in the future. I didn't think about this in the past, but now I realize that my daughter needs her own space. Of course, this was under the assumption that Mrs. Tang liked Lin. Mrs. Tang wouldn't be as easygoing as she was with Lin. She'd be more than happy to ruin things. Mom, what are you talking about? Tangyan said a little awkwardly. The wound on my forehead healed. I was so happy that I almost fell down, and Lin Yi just helped me up a little. Tangyan felt a bit guilty under her mother's gaze, so she couldn't speak with confidence. I understand, Mrs. Tang said as she looked at her daughter's expression. Tangyan knew that the misunderstanding had deepened. Auntie, Lin Yi didn't panic at all. He politely nodded to Mrs. Tang and asked, How's Uncle Tang's injury? He's much better. With the medicine you gave him, he doesn't feel any pain anymore. He's also taken the Chinese medicine. He looks good. In fact, Mrs. Tang didn't expect Tang Juqing to recover so quickly. He didn't feel any pain at all today, and it seemed like he was going to recover soon. Let's go see Uncle Tang, said Lin Yi. Is the wound on your forehead really healed? At this time, Mrs. Tang walked closer and saw the wound on Tangyan's forehead. There was only a shallow scar left. Other than that, there was nothing strange. The scar was so shallow that it couldn't be seen anymore. It would probably disappear after some time. Yes, I'm really fine now, Tangyan said as she looked at Lin Yi shyly and said to her mother, Lil Yi's medical skills are really amazing. Mrs. Tang praised. She looked at Lin Yi with more and more admiration. She felt that her daughter was really lucky to have met Lin Yi. She wouldn't have to worry for the rest of her life, and his family's life would gradually get better. Mrs. Tang also saw the news. The collapse of Qibing skyscraper was on TV. Although they didn't say the reason and only said that the quality of the construction wasn't up to standard, Mrs. Tang knew that things weren't that simple. How could it be so coincidental? Lin Yi just got his revenge on Zhao Qibing and his skyscraper collapsed because of the quality of the construction? How is that possible? Anyone with a brain would know that it was Lin Yi who collapsed it. At that time, Lin Yi asked Fatty Lai to find a bulldozer, trenching machine, and a demolition team. It would be weird if the skyscraper collapsed by itself. Even if Zhao Qibing was a black-hearted businessman and skimped on materials, he wouldn't skimp on his own office building. One had to know that he had to work in the skyscraper, and the skyscraper was the face of the company. If the quality of the office building wasn't up to standard, how could people buy his company's real estate? But Zhao Qibing had no other choice. In comparison, he couldn't afford to lose face. He would rather swallow his teeth and say that his skyscraper wasn't up to standard than admit that it was Lin Yi who demolished his skyscraper. Mrs. Tang was straightforward. Zhao Qibing demolished his house, and Lin Yi went to demolish his skyscraper. He destroyed Tang Yun's face and broke Tang Juqing's legs. Lin Yi did the same, destroying his face and breaking his legs. Mrs. Tang wouldn't have dared to think of this in the past. Those people were rich and powerful. How could her family be their opponent? They suffered losses and had no way out. But it was different now. They had Lin Yi to protect them. Lin Yi followed Mrs. Tang and Tang Yun to Tang Juqing's ward. Tang Juqing was listening to the radio, and a rare smile appeared on his face when he saw Lin Yi. He was even more surprised when he saw that his daughter's forehead didn't seem to have any problems. Although Tang Juqing hadn't been to Tang Yun's room after she was admitted to the hospital, he knew how serious her injuries were. He saw his daughter's face covered in blood when they were being carried by the ambulance in front of their house in the shantytown. Chapter 613. Shu is going to die. It's done. Tang Yun nodded. It's fine now. Lin Yi said that he's here to take a look at your injuries. Okay. Tang Juqing nodded happily. What do you want me to do? Uncle Tang, just lie down and you'll be fine. Lin Yi waved his hand, gesturing for Tang Juqing not to move as he walked over to check on Tang Juqing's injuries. Tang Juqing's broken legs should be able to recover very quickly under the care of Chinese medicine. However, his neurological problems were still the same. That meant that even if Tang Juqing's legs were healed, he would still be limping when he walked. Lin Yi frowned. This wasn't a good sign. Even if Tang Juqing could stand up, if he tried to do rehabilitation training and limped because of the neurological problems, it would affect the recovery of his legs. If he continued walking like this, the newly healed legs might become deformed. Even if his neurological problems were healed in the future, the recovery of his legs would be different, and he would still limp. What's wrong? Lin Yi, is there a problem with my dad's illness? Tang Yun had been paying attention to Lin Yi's expression, and when she saw him frown, her heart skipped a beat. It's a bit troublesome. Lin Yi didn't hide it and explained his thoughts to Tang Yun and Mrs. Tang. He didn't hide it from Tang Juqing because it wasn't necessary. Then what should we do? Tang Yun was panicking. But Tang Juqing and Mrs. Tang weren't too worried, and Tang Juqing smiled instead. It's fine if he's limping. It's good enough that he can stand up. It's better than lying on the bed, right? Tang Juqing couldn't be blamed for being optimistic. In fact, he had been lying on the bed for so long. As long as he could stand up, he wouldn't care if he was limping or not. Being limping was better than being paralyzed, right? Mrs. Tang had the same thought. She didn't mind when Tang Juqing was paralyzed, so what if he was crippled? Originally, I wanted to wait until the end of the college entrance examination and let you go back with me to see my old man. Then, I would bring back the nerve-stimulating medicine, but now it seems that there is not enough time. Lin Yi said, but it doesn't matter. I will find someone to send it over. How can I do that? Tang Juqing was flattered. Lin Yi had to trouble others for his sake. Haha, it's nothing. Lin Yi thought of Gooden, his childhood playmate. He hadn't seen him in a long time, and now wasn't the time for harvest. He should have time. Dad, since Lin Yi said so, then it's settled. Tang Yun saw that her father still wanted to say something, so she spoke first to finalize the matter. Naturally, Tang Yun didn't want her father to become a cripple. Even if she owed Lin Yi a favor, it was her. She owed Lin Yi a lot anyway, so she didn't care anymore. After this small misunderstanding, Tang Yun had thought it through. Repaying a favor with her body was a good way to repay a debt. Since Tang Yun had decided to follow Lin Yi, she could let him do whatever he wanted in the future. Thinking of this, Tang Yun couldn't help but blush. Yeah, old Tang, It's Lin Yi's sincerity. Don't say anything. Mrs. Tang didn't care about her husband being crippled, but she still hoped that her husband could be like a normal person. Lin Yi took out his phone and wanted to call Air Gooden, but the moment he took it out, his phone rang. Lin Yi looked at the caller ID. It was Meng Yao. Yushu's stomach was round, and she couldn't get up from the sofa. At first, it was a little uncomfortable, but it was bearable. But after a while, it became more and more uncomfortable. Yao Yao, my stomach is so uncomfortable. Why is it so big? Am I pregnant? I'm so disgusted. Yushu laid on the sofa and whimpered weakly. How can you get pregnant from eating? Don't say that. Meng Yao was watching TV when she heard Shu's whining. She turned off the TV and walked over. Yao Yao, if you can get pregnant from drinking soda, why can't I get pregnant from eating? There's probably Shield Bro's saliva in it, Yushu said with a pale face. All right, stop it. Meng Yao couldn't help but feel embarrassed when the past was brought up. Did you eat too much? Do you want to go to the washroom? I haven't even digested it yet. How am I supposed to go? It's so uncomfortable. Yushu felt that her stomach was full and disgusting. In short, it was a mess. Wait, I'll go get some digestive pills for you. Meng Yao was regretting her actions after seeing Yushu's discomfort. She shouldn't have let her emotions get the better of her. She didn't know if a person could die from eating too much, but since there was the phrase die from eating too much, it was probably possible, right? Meng Yao panicked even more at the thought. She quickly went to get the pills. I'm not eating. I can't eat anymore. I'll explode if I eat anymore. Yushu couldn't eat anymore. Then what should we do? Meng Yao didn't know what to do. I'm going to die. I'm going to die again. I don't want to die. Yushu felt that she was really unlucky. She'd almost died 2 days ago, and now she was going to die again. Yao Yao, why'd you do this to me? I'm not trying to steal Shield Bro from you. I told you I'd be the second wife. You still want to get rid of me. Yushu felt really unlucky. She'd almost died 2 days ago, and now she was going to die again. Why would I do this to you? Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Yushu's words. I don't like Lin Yi at all. Why would I steal from you? I didn't want him to bring food for Tang Yun. That's why I made you eat all of it. Right, Lin Yi? Hang in there, I'll call Lin Yi. Meng Yao heard Yushu's words and immediately thought of Lin Yi. How could she forget about him? He should have a way to save Shu, right? Lin Yi picked up Meng Yao's call, and the miss screamed, Lin Yi, where are you? Come back quickly. Shu can't hold on anymore. What? What did you say? Lin Yi froze. Shu can't hold on anymore? What did she mean? Shu ate too much. She can't hold on anymore. She's going to die. Come back quickly, Meng Yao said urgently. Okay, I'll go back now. Lin Yi sighed helplessly and hung up. Can't hold on anymore? Then why did she eat so much? She even ate Tang Yun's portion. Chapter 614. Yao Yao sis wants to assassinate me. Yeah. Yushu ate too much. I heard that she's about to die from overeating. I'll go back and check. Lin Yi sweated as he talked about it. What was going on? There were people who could die from overeating in this day and age? Tang Yun covered her mouth in surprise. She couldn't believe it. Did you eat too much? Overeating? Yeah, but it's not impossible for something like this to happen to Yushu. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I'll go back first. Right, I've already talked to Dean Sheen about it. You guys can stay in the hospital for now. Otherwise, you won't have a place to stay after you leave the hospital. Director Sheen of the hospital knew Lin Yi by now, and he knew that Lin Yi had a special relationship with Guan Xiumin. Since Lin Yi had spoken up, Tang Yun and Tang Juqing could stay in the hospital even if they were discharged. It wasn't like Lin Yi didn't want to pay up anyways. He had already paid a huge deposit. There was no need for Dean Sheen to kick them out. Mrs. Tang was a little annoyed at the mention of this. She was discussing with Tang Juqing whether or not they should buy a house first. The houses in Shantytown had all collapsed and were uninhabitable. Fortunately, there was nothing valuable in them. The TV and refrigerator were bought when they got married. They were more than 10 years old and had long been worn out. It didn't matter if they were broken. As for furniture, there wasn't much. But since Lin Yi had arranged for them to stay in the hospital, they didn't have to rush to buy a house. At least they had to observe the market first. They couldn't just blindly buy a house. He didn't think it was possible for Yushu to be stuffed to death, but he still drove back to the villa as fast as he could. He saw Yushu lying on the sofa, moaning nonstop, with Meng Yao beside her, holding her hand and comforting her. Yao Yao sis, I really can't take it anymore. Why isn't Shield Bro here yet? Yushu cried. Soon. That damn Lin Yi, he's staying at Tang Yun's place and doesn't want to leave? I don't know what's so good about Tang Yun. She's so much worse than our Shu. Meng Yao complained. Cough, cough. Lin Yi broke out in a cold sweat and coughed twice. Although Tang Yun wasn't weaker than Yushu, the key was Yushu's identity. Would Lin Yi dare to touch her? She was eldest Miss Best Friend. How could there be such a comparison? Lin Yi thought to himself, if you give Yushu to me as my wife, I'll definitely bring her with me every day. Meng Yao heard Lin Yi's coughing and turned back to see Lin Yi. You still know to come back? Look, Shu is about to die. Go save her. Lin Yi looked at Yushu on the sofa, relieved to see that she wasn't dead yet. He frowned when he saw the bulging stomach, wondering if there was a perforation. Shield Bro, you're finally back. Sob sob. Yushu started crying. I feel so bad. Yao Yao sis wants to assassinate me. No one wants to assassinate you. Are you hallucinating? Lin Yi turned to Meng Yao, confused. Why would Yushu say that she wanted to assassinate her? Could it be that Yushu ate some poisonous food and was hallucinating? Meng Yao blushed. Hurry up and save her. Don't ask so much. Okay. Lin Yi nodded, picked up Yushu, and flipped her over. Her head was facing the sofa, and he said to Meng Yao, help me open her mouth. Don't close it. Oh, okay. Meng Yao didn't dare to delay, and quickly opened Yushu's mouth. Yushu couldn't help but cry out in pain. She thought to herself, why are you and Shield Bro trying to kill me? Are you trying to open my mouth and pull out my tongue? But she couldn't speak. What's your name? Meng Yao felt that Yushu's voice was similar to a certain voice, and she couldn't help but glare at her. Yushu couldn't speak with her mouth covered, and she couldn't make any sound other than awe. Hold it, it'll be fine soon. Lin Yi took a chopstick from the kitchen and started poking at Yushu's throat. Yushu felt a wave of nausea, and she finally vomited after being poked by Lin Yi. She hadn't digested her lunch yet, and she vomited it all over the floor, but Meng Yao's hands were all over it. The miss wasn't disgusted at all, but looked at Yushu with concern instead. Shu, how do you feel? Yushu started vomiting, and it didn't stop. She threw up almost everything in her stomach. Well, it's so uncomfortable, but it's much better now, Yushu said after she was done vomiting. That's good, I was scared to death. Meng Yao was scared as well. What if Yushu really died from overeating? It's not a big deal. I just had nothing better to do. Lin Yi shook his head. You can't eat that much. Why did you still eat? Yao Yao made me eat. Yushu felt wronged, and she almost died. How could she not feel wronged? Why did you make her eat so much? Lin Yi was a little pissed. This wasn't a joke, and it was fortunate that she was fine. Meng Yao didn't expect Lin Yi to question her with a straight face, but Meng Yao was in the wrong, and she couldn't refute. Yao Yao didn't want you to bring food for Tang Yun, so she made me eat it all, Yushu said honestly. Lin Yi shook his head, speechless. It was pretty much what he expected. These two girls were too good at messing around. Shu, stop it. Meng Yao was a little embarrassed. You're very weak. Go back to your room and rest. Oh, Yushu felt a little weak after hearing Meng Yao's words. I can't walk, Yao Yao. Meng Yao wanted to carry Yushu upstairs, but she couldn't carry her. She hesitated and turned to Lin Yi. Carry her upstairs. Upstairs? Can I? Lin Yi pointed upstairs. Meng Yao was the one who told him firmly not to go upstairs when he first came. I'll allow this exception, Meng Yao said, just this once. There's General Weiwu. Lin Yi looked at the staircase, and General Weiwu was still squatting there. Lin Yi didn't want Meng Yao to find out that he wasn't afraid of General Weiwu. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain himself if he lost something upstairs. Chapter 615. Elder Chu. Lin Yi didn't expect Meng Yao to let Weiwu squat by the stairs every day, knowing that General Weiwu wasn't a threat to him. Lin Yi shook his head. In fact, Meng Yao made General Weiwu squat by the stairs to prevent thieves, not to prevent Lin Yi. Although she did guard against Lin Yi in the beginning, it wasn't necessary anymore. Meng Yao had seen through Lin Yi's character. He wouldn't bring General Wei Wu up even if she asked him to. Meng Yao even hoped that he would sneak up and peek at her. At least that would prove her and Shu's charm. However, Lin Yi didn't go up. Although it was a little weird, the Miss was stubborn. Why couldn't she win against Tang Yun? The Miss Pride took a huge hit. It wasn't the first time Lin Yi carried Yushu, so he didn't feel any burden. He carried Yushu and walked up the stairs. When he passed General Wei Wu didn't even scream and moved to the side, lowering his head and not daring to look at Lin Yi. Meng Yao humphed and glared at Lin Yi. She just couldn't understand why Lin Yi wasn't afraid of General Wei Wu. In fact, when she asked Lin Yi to go upstairs to connect the cable, Meng Yao had already suspected that General Wei Wu wasn't a threat to Lin Yi. Otherwise, how could Lin Yi go up to the second floor? Until a few days ago, when Lin Yi brought General Wei Wu to look for her, it made Meng Yao even more suspicious. Other than Faubert, General Wei Wu couldn't even be ordered around by her daddy. How did Lin Yi get General Wei Wu to go up the mountain? Because Faubert didn't come up, and only Lin Yi came to the cave alone. General Wei Wu was obviously scared by Lin Yi, which was why it went to look for its master for protection. Meng Yao could see that. Lin Yi chuckled dryly, not replying as he quickly went up the stairs. Don't look around when you're on the second floor. Follow me. Meng Yao led the way and led Lin Yi to her room. She opened the door and let Lin Yi carry Yushu in. The pink bedroom was very cozy. There were many pretty flowers on the wall, and there were some plush toys on the bed. Lin Yi put Yushu on the bed, but Meng Yao kicked him out of the room before he even had time to admire her beauty. Lin Yi shrugged, a little regretful. Not many people would be able to enter the Miss Room, right? After all, not many people could enter the Miss Room. Since Meng Yao didn't let him look around, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't take the initiative to peek. He walked out of Meng Yao's room and went downstairs. He cleaned up Yushu's vomit on the sofa and returned to his room. Lin Yi called old Lin and reported to him what happened in Songzhan. Of course, there's also good news. He had leveled up. He was now at the early phase of the mystic class. Old Lin's attitude was still indifferent. He didn't congratulate him, nor did he say anything else. He only told him to stay in House Chu. But when he was about to leave, he said to Lin, if there's a chance, go and get in touch with House Chu's old man. House Chu's old man? Uncle Chu? Or Uncle Chu's father? Lin Yi asked, slightly startled. His father. Old Lin didn't beat around the bush with Lin Yi. If there's a chance, get in touch with him. If there's no chance, don't create one. There will always be a chance. Lin Yi listened to old Lin's words. Why did it sound so weird? Was it a Zen? Was there a hidden meaning behind it? But Lin Yi remembered it in his heart. Nothing. Old Lin smiled faintly. Kid, you didn't call me out of the blue just to report something, did you? I remember that you don't have the habit of reporting to me unless there's something important. There's indeed something. Lin Yi said, Old man, do you still have the medicine that stimulates the nerves when I trained? I think there's some left. Why do you need it? Old Lin asked. Yes, I do. I have 2 friends with mental problems, Lin Yi said. Or you can give me the recipe and I'll make some myself. Lin Yi hadn't studied this medicine before because it wasn't useful to Lin Yi and it was hard to make. If you're making it, there are probably a few ingredients that aren't easy to get. I planted them myself. Old Lin said, I have some finished medicine here. If you want to use it, you can come and get it. I'll ask Gooden to send it over. Lin Yi said, I'll call him later. That's fine. Old Lin wasn't stingy with these things because they weren't that important. When he gave it to Lin Yi to train, he made a whole vat of it. Lin Yi wanted to send it over by courier, but this was a serious matter. Lin Yi was worried that something might go wrong, so he might as well ask Gooden to send it over. Lin Yi missed this childhood friend as well. All these years, Lin Yi didn't have a fixed place to stay. Other than doing missions, he didn't have a place to stay. Every time he went back, Gooden would listen to Lin Yi talk about the outside world. He wished that he could go out, but Lin Yi never had the chance to bring him out. Gooden's family was very poor. In fact, the village that Lin Yi lived in wasn't rich at all. The only place that could be considered rich was the village head's family, with a fish pond. There was also Widow Wong's family at the entrance of the village, with a snack bar and grocery store. Then there was Lin Yi's family. Of course, Lin Yi's family's source of income came from Lin Yi's straw hats and sandals. Lin Yi's hands and feet were nimble, and he worked fast. Although many people in the village did this, Lin Yi's daily output was 4 to 5 times that of these people. I would not be rich. In fact, this so-called rich was just being able to buy a laptop and eat at Widow Wong's snack bar. Lin Yi didn't know where all the money from all those missions went, but the old man didn't mention it, and Lin Yi didn't mention it. They weren't father and son, but they were closer than father and son, and Lin Yi didn't mind. Comparatively speaking, Gooden's family was very poor. They relied on farming for a living, and they didn't even have a phone. Gooden always wanted to leave the mountains and see the outside world, and Lin Yi promised him that he would bring him to see the world. Chapter 6:16. Childhood friends Lin Yi called Widow Wong's house at the entrance of the village. "Hello, Star West Village. Who are you looking for?" Widow Wong's village accent came through the phone. "Aunt Wong, I'm Old Lin's Lil. Can you call Gooden for me?" Lin Yi said, Old Lin's Lily? Wait here, I'll go get him now." Widow Wong replied and put down the phone. Star West Village wasn't big, and basically everyone knew each other. Everyone bought things from Widow Wong, so Widow Wong was more than happy to have people come to her place to answer the phone. Widow Wong's shop was right next to the village, and there was a loudspeaker inside. In the village, you basically had to shout to find someone. The loudspeaker could even wake someone up in the middle of their sleep. "Gooden, it's Aunt Wong. Come and answer the phone." Widow Wong yelled through the loudspeaker and returned to the shop. Not long after, a man as strong as a bull ran into the shop. He was Gooden, 185 m tall. He stood in front of the shop like a wall. "Aunt Wong, my phone?" Gooden ran a kilometer away from home, but his face wasn't red, and his heart wasn't racing. He wasn't even out of breath. One look, and you could tell that his body wasn't normal. "It's Lily. Hurry up. It's a long-distance call. It's very expensive." Widow Wong pointed at the phone on the table. "Lin Yi, bro." Gooden rubbed his hands together excitedly when he heard Lin Yi's name. "I'm Gooden." Gooden." Lin Yi smiled. "Are things busy at home?" "It's good. We planted the seeds a while ago, and now they're weeding and fertilizing. We're just waiting for the autumn harvest. We'll probably have a good harvest this year." Gooden said. "Not bad. Do you have a girlfriend?" Lin Yi asked with a smile. "Who'd like me?" Gooden smiled. "My family's so poor, I don't look good. I'll be a bachelor for the rest of my life. If you have nothing to do during this period, come to my house. My old man has my address. You can help me bring some things over. It's a good opportunity to see the world," Lin Yi said with a smile. Really? That's great." Gooden heard that Lin Yi wanted him to go to a big city and see the world, and he couldn't be happier. "Then I'll leave after finishing the farm work at home." "But Lin Yi, bro, we haven't had the harvest yet. We don't have any travel expenses." Gooden and Lin Yi grew up together, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. No money was no money. It wasn't shameful. My old man will help you prepare the travel expenses. If you need anything, just tell me before you leave," Lin Yi smiled. "You don't have to be so polite with me." "Of course, you're my Lin Yi, bro. Of course I won't be polite." Gooden was like this since he was young. Other than his dad, he only listened to Lin Yi. So in his eyes, Lin Yi and his dad were on the same level. It was natural for Lin Yi to give him money. Lin Yi smiled. He didn't know how many years it had been since he played with Gooden. The days of catching fish and prawns together were long gone. Even after he hung up, Lin Yi was still immersed in his memories. There were 3 times in his life when he was the happiest. The first time was when he was young. At that time, he hadn't gone on a mission yet. He was still learning medicine from his old man, training his body. He didn't have many missions a day, and when he was free, he would catch fish and prawns with Gooden. It was a very carefree life. The second time was in the training camp with his teammates. He was the captain of the team, and he brought the other 6 teammates to overcome all obstacles and stand out. That time was hard and tiring, but it was also the most fulfilling. It seemed tense, but there wasn't the danger of a real mission. There There was only the trust and friendship between teammates. Second brother, third brother, fourth brother, fifth brother, sixth brother, and seventh brother. Where are you now? Are you doing well? Are you busy with missions all over the world? Lin, he shook his head. His teammates had gone their separate ways after leaving the training camp, and he hadn't seen each other since. The third time was when Lin, he was in Songshan. Although he didn't know who his enemies were, and there were always some small troubles, these days of freedom made Lin, he really happy. He hoped that it would never end. Of course, other than these 3 happy times, Lin, he also had a lot of painful times. One of them wasn't painful, but at least it was painful and happy at the same time. It was also a rare time. It was also during that time that he met Yang Huaijuan, Armadillo, and Ning. It was also because of Ning that this time was forcefully erased from Lin Yi's memory. It was also the reason why Lin, he chose to run away when he first met Yang Huaijuan. Until now, Lin didn't know why he rejected Ning so decisively. Was it because of the huge power behind her, or was it because he couldn't give her a stable life? Lin, he never thought that he would retire one day, and he didn't think that he would retire at such a young age. Lin, he didn't know what his old man was thinking. He suddenly brought him to Songshan to do a special mission that would give him a lifetime's worth of food. This was a huge deal. Lingshan flipped through the case files on her desk. The kidney trafficking organization seemed to have been a lot more restrained recently. Ever since the transit station was destroyed, they seemed to have become a lot more careful. However, they didn't stop their crimes because they moved their targets and locations to the outskirts of the city. In this week, there were already 2 cases of widowed farmers being murdered. It was the same method, but the locations were more unpredictable. One of the 2 victims was a villager from Yazi village in the east of the city, and the other was a villager from Shinbu village in the west. One in the east and one in the west, tens of kilometers away from each other. There was no pattern at all. Even if they sent out the police force to keep watch, it was impossible to cover the hundreds of villages around the city with police officers. Putting aside the fact that the police force was not enough, even if it was enough, they couldn't possibly stop the entire police station and keep watch over the kidney trafficking organization, right? Lingshan felt like a coward. She'd cracked a couple of big cases since she'd been appointed, and she'd received praise and recognition from the leaders of the province. But she knew what was going on. She didn't have the face to say how she'd cracked the cases. Chapter 617. Lingshan's pursuer. It wasn't that Lingshan was a coward. It was just that she had arrived at the right time. Big cases kept popping up as soon as she took over. When Huaijuan was the captain, there were a few criminal groups as well, but they were all gangsters, bag robbers, thieves, and the like. These cases were big, but they weren't as complicated as they were now. Lingshan, on the other hand, was a special forces soldier, and she had no place to use her skills. How could she not be frustrated? When Lingshan came back, she was filled with ambition and wanted to show off her ambitions. Her dream of fighting with the gangster and taking him down didn't come true. In fact, it wasn't that she didn't have the chance to fight with the gangster, and there were quite a few of them, but how many of them could Lingshan meet by herself? Even if she fought with criminals, how many strong ones were there? How many criminals could have the strength of a golden class? Lingshan was a golden class mid-phase, and even in House Song, one of the 4 noble houses, she was the leader of the younger generation. If she wanted criminals to have golden class strength, she wouldn't need to be a criminal anymore. She could just be a bodyguard of some rich man and earn a lot. Why would she need to rob? What a headache. Why did these criminals keep coming in waves? Why do they have to do it in Songshan? Before the kidney trafficking organization appeared, Songshan did have an underground organ trade market, but because it was an underground trade, and it was done after both parties agreed on the price, no one reported it to the police. As long as these people didn't cross the line, Lingshan wouldn't interfere. She couldn't do anything about it. But now, they were kidnapping people and selling their kidneys. She couldn't just ignore it. But these people seemed to have a very strict organization, and it wasn't easy to take them out at once. It was already very difficult to destroy just one layer. The main problem was that these people had doctors and operating tables in their hands, and they didn't need to go through the proper medical system or clinics. The kidneys weren't sold locally either, and according to Ling Shan's understanding, there hadn't been a single kidney transplant patient that was bought from this group. Of course, there were people who bought kidneys from the black market, but they also went through unscrupulous intermediaries. Then, they negotiated the price with the kidney seller in private, and the kidney transplant surgery was carried out in a regular hospital. The unscrupulous intermediaries only received an intermediary fee of 10 to 20,000 yuan. They had gotten rid of quite a few of these black intermediaries, but they were all small fries. They were of no help to the progress of the case. Ring dash, Ling Shan's phone rang. Ling Shan's ringtone wasn't like those young men and women's. It was the most common default ringtone. It also suited her profession and personality, being more mature. Hello, I'm Ling Shan from the criminal investigation team. Ling Shan answered the phone out of habit. It was an unknown number, and she didn't have a contact book. Ling Shan, a rough male voice, sounded from the other side of the phone. I'm Chen Yuqian. Oh, Chen Yuqian? Ling Shan paused, frowning imperceptibly. What's wrong? Chen Yuqian smiled bitterly after hearing the coldness in Ling Shan's voice. Ling Shan, I'm going back to Sanzan tomorrow. I have a mission. Can we have a meal together? I'm busy with the case. I don't have time. Ling Shan rejected Yuqian's suggestion. I see. Yuqian sighed. Can we meet once? I really do have a case. Is there something important that you want to talk to me about? If not, I don't want to delay my work. Ling Shan said faintly. Can't we meet if there's nothing important? We're old friends, childhood sweethearts. You can't just not give me face, can you? Yuqian said helplessly. Shin Yuqian, please watch your words. It's true that we're old friends, but childhood sweethearts are out of the question. Ling Shan corrected him. Shin Yuqian, I know what you're thinking. It's not that I'm not giving you a chance, it's your own fault. Who can you blame? Ling Shan, aren't you just making things difficult for me? You're one of the best in the younger generation of the noble houses, and you're already golden class mid-phase. I just broke through. When will I ever catch up to you? Yuqian smiled bitterly. You know what I'm like. I've always wanted to be strong since I was young, and my man has to be stronger than me. Otherwise, do you think he'll have a good life? Ling Shan couldn't help but feel proud. Shin Yuqian, I gave you a chance to challenge me, but you didn't take it. I even said that you can challenge me anytime before I have a boyfriend. If you're here to challenge me, I can meet you. If not, then I'm sorry, I'm not free. Ling Shan, as far as I know, other than House Yu, Wu Chuntian from House Wu is also a golden class early phase. Are you saying that you won't marry if there's no one stronger than you? Yuqian couldn't help but ask. How do you know that there aren't any masters other than the noble houses? Ling Shan asked back. She didn't know why, but Ling Shan suddenly thought of Lin Yi. She didn't know where that guy got his kung fu from, but why was he so strong? I don't seem to be his opponent. Moreover, I still have to humble myself and pretend to be Miss Braindead in front of him. He's really as abominable as he can be, but she was in his hands, unable to fight back. Was this still her personality? She was the Miss of House Song, and she was going to be taken advantage of by him? This was too humiliating. And so, Ling Shan decided not to think about him. She couldn't think about him, because thinking about him made her angry. Yuqian was speechless. He didn't dare say that there weren't any masters outside of the noble houses, because he knew that there were masters outside of the noble houses. But since Ling Shan didn't want to see him, there was no point in saying anything. Asking Yuqian to challenge Ling Shan now was the same as asking for a beating. He couldn't afford to lose that face. Chapter 618. Yushu's brother. Right, I want to tell you a very unfortunate piece of news. I think I've reached the barrier to the late phase of the golden class. I'm looking for a chance to break through. Ling Shan said faintly. If you want to chase me, then work hard. Of course, you can give up, because I don't have much feelings for you. Yuqian almost threw the phone away when he heard Ling Shan's words. Late phase of the golden class? Was Ling Shan that strong? How did Hao Song have a genius like her? Yuqian took in a breath of cold air. If Ling Shan could reach golden class late phase at such a young age, then Hao Song's position would definitely skyrocket, and Ling Shan's marriage would be even more important. Who knew what kind of marriage Old Song would arrange for Ling Shan to get married then? Perhaps If they knew that Lingshan had broken through to the late phase of the golden class, then how she would come to see her. All right, I'll work hard. Yu Qian was in despair this time. The gap wasn't small at all, and there was no point in being angry. I'm busy, bye. Lingshan didn't say much and hung up. She didn't have any feelings for Yu Qian, so she purposely said that she was going to break through to the late phase of the golden class. In reality, she had just reached the middle phase peak, and there was still some distance to the late phase. Lingshan said that because she wanted Yu Qian to give up. She didn't like Yu Qian's personality. She was a strong person herself, but she liked men who were stronger. It was only with men like this that she was willing to let him come to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't feel comfortable. After failing to get a date with Lingshan, Yu Qian thought about his old playmates, Jiang Wen and Su Taizao. The fourth young master didn't come to Songzhan often, so he didn't get to see them often. Jiang Wen and Taizao had called earlier, wanting to hold a banquet to welcome him, but Yu Qian didn't agree right away. He asked Lingshan if she was free first. The four young masters of Songzhan were nothing more than a joke to Yu Qian now. They were just a bunch of kids, relying on their family's power to think they were invincible. There was nothing to be proud of. Since he'd chosen the other path, the distance between him and Jiang Wen, Taizao, and the others would only grow bigger and bigger. Although they used to be playmates, they had become estranged from each other. There was no longer the feeling of drinking and fooling around together. The Yu Qian now was much more mature than before, and this was also because of Lingshan's rejection that he had no choice but to walk this path. Thinking about it back then was indeed very difficult, but now that he had walked over, he realized that his choice was correct. Only by doing what he was doing could he be considered a man of indomitable spirit. Although the four young masters of Mount Songzhan had been awe-inspiring, what use was that? Those empty reputations didn't belong to him. Even if they did, they would be cursed. It seemed like the gap between him and Lingshan was getting bigger and bigger. Yu Qian smiled bitterly. He understood that with Lingshan's personality, normal men wouldn't be able to tame her. They weren't her match in terms of martial arts. Even if she forced herself to be with him due to her family's pressure, Yu Qian believed that he wouldn't be able to suppress Lingshan in the future. Just like Lingshan said, he wouldn't even be able to do it. His phone rang, and Yu Qian looked at it. It was Jiang Wen. He'd already rejected the invitation yesterday, but Jiang Wen was still so persistent. Of course, Yu Qian knew exactly what Jiang Wen was thinking. He was inviting him to a banquet, and he had to bring his sister Yushu. If his sister went, Meng Yao would naturally go as well. As Meng Yao's pursuer, Jiang Wen would naturally use this opportunity to get close to Meng Yao. He was just a stepping stone. Yu Qian knew very well that his life was getting further and further away from Jiang Wen. They weren't on the same path at all, and their relationship wasn't that good at all. Hello, second brother. Yu Qian picked up the phone, but he still called Jiang Wen second brother. He was the second of the four young masters of Mount Songzhan. Tian bro, how is it? Have you arranged everything? Do you have time tomorrow night? Do me the honor of meeting us brothers at Starlight Resplendent? Jiang Wen asked with a smile. Yu Qian's reason yesterday was that he didn't know the schedule yet, and he didn't know if he had time. Haha. All right, tomorrow night it is then. I'll contact you then. Yu Qian accepted Jiang Wen's invitation because he couldn't get a date with Lingshan. All right, see you then. Jiang Wen was overjoyed. As long as he invited Yu Qian, Yushu wouldn't come. As long as Yushu came, Meng Yao would definitely come. He never had a chance to get close to Meng Yao, and Meng Yao didn't want to give him one either. Now, he could officially invite Meng Yao and Yushu. How is it, bro? Is it done, and bro? Taizao asked anxiously. It's done. We'll go visit Meng Yao and Yushu now and ask them to come to our banquet tomorrow night. Jiang Wen nodded with a smile. And bro, this is a good opportunity. I think you should use this chance to confess to Meng Yao. Taizao said, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's true. Do you have any good ideas? It wouldn't be good for me to confess to her, would it? Jiang Wen frowned. But you're right. Meng Yao's attitude towards me is a little hard to understand. She's not as friendly as she was the first time we met at the theme park. Is she blaming me for not pursuing her well enough? Maybe I should prepare some flowers for her tomorrow. That's possible, Tai Zhao said. But forget about flowers. Girls all care about their face. You can't just go after her without doing anything, can you? But you can't be too intense and put her on the spot. It's like in many situations, girls like you pursuing them, but they don't want you to force them too much. She enjoys the process of you pursuing her, and she doesn't want to say yes right away. That's why kneeling down and begging is basically forcing people to make a decision. As long as the girl doesn't really like him, she'll reject him for sure. Even if she likes him a little, she can't just say yes right away. Chapter 619. Jiang Wen's visit. And so, Jiang Wen was thinking that if he were to confess with flowers, Meng Yao might really reject him outright. Their relationship would be strained like that, and it wouldn't look good if he tried to pursue her in the future. Then what do you think I should do? And bro, why don't you say something drunk? An idea came to Tai Zhao. You drink some wine and confess your feelings to Meng Yao. If Meng Yao likes you, she'll be very shy and even want to make sure that you're just talking nonsense after drinking or that you really mean it. Of course, if Meng Yao doesn't want you to confess, you can just say that you said something drunk. She won't hold it against you, right? It won't be so awkward when they meet again. That's a good idea, Tai Zhao, but you need to help me out tomorrow. Jiang Wen nodded. Shall we go to Meng Yao's house now? Yes, and bro, don't worry. I'll create a suitable opportunity for you tomorrow. Just confess your feelings then. Tai Zhao patted his chest as he promised. Lin Yi wasn't expecting Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao to come at this time. Lin Yi frowned as he looked at the two. And bro, what brings you here at this time? Shu's not feeling well. She's resting upstairs. Lin Yi didn't know if Jiang Wen was here for Meng Yao or for him, so he decided to ask. Haha, we're here for Shu. Since she's sick, then we have to pay her a visit. Jiang Wen smiled. Tai Zhao, go buy some fruits. Okay, and bro. Tai Zhao picked up the car keys and left, leaving Jiang Wen standing in front of the villa. Wait a minute. I'll go ask Yao Yao and Shu. Lin, he was just pretending to be polite to Jiang Wen, since he wanted to use him to deal with Pin Yang. He didn't care too much about him and just left him at the door. Meng Yao was already in the living room when Lin Yi got back to the villa, evidently having heard the doorbell as well. Lin Yi, who's here? Is it Faubert? No, it's Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao. I don't know what they're up to. Lin Yi pointed at the door behind him. Brother Jiang Wen? Why is he here again? Meng Yao's tone was courteous, but it was clear that she didn't want Jiang Wen to be a guest at her house. How would I know? But they said they were looking for Shu. Lin Yi shrugged. Yao Yao, let them in. My brother will be back tomorrow. They're probably here because of this, right? Yushu came downstairs as well. She was behind Meng Yao, standing by the stairs. I thought it was Faubert bringing food. I'm so hungry. I want to eat to my heart's content. Hungry? You're hungry again? You want to eat to your heart's content again? Lin Yi was speechless. She just threw up, and now she was hungry again? Eat to her heart's content again? He didn't know what this Yushu was made of. Did she forget the pain after the wound healed? Yeah, my stomach's so empty, I'm growling. Yushu rubbed her stomach as she complained. I puked out too much earlier. It'd be better if I didn't puke out so much. Why don't you eat what you threw up? Meng Yao glared at Yushu, finding the topic disgusting. Oh, that's enough for the two of us. Yushu nodded. Meng Yao was about to throw up. She was quite hungry, but now she had no appetite at all. Lin Yi went to open the door, and Jiang Wen walked in with a smile on his face. He wasn't overly enthusiastic when he saw Meng Yao, only nodding to her. Yao Yao, I heard that Shu's sick. I'm not sick. Yao Yao just set me up. Yushu was interrupted by Meng Yao. She just has a stomach flu. It's nothing. She'll be fine after throwing up. Meng Yao wouldn't let Yushu talk nonsense. Oh, I see. Jiang Wen could tell from Meng Yao's tone that she didn't want to talk about it anymore. Shu, Tian Bro will be back tomorrow, Tai Zhao, and I will hold a feast to welcome him. You should come too. Your brother hasn't seen you for a long time, right? Okay. Yushu agreed without thinking too much. After all, she hadn't seen her brother for a long time. There was no reason not to go. Meng Yao was a little annoyed. Why did Yushu agree just like that? If she went, how could she not go? Didn't Jiang Wen invite Chen Yutian or him? Only Jiang Wen himself would know the answer. Yao Yao, you're coming too? Jiang Wen smiled. Linny, are you free tomorrow? Meng Yao didn't answer Jiang Wen's question. She turned to Lin Yi and said, you come with us. Okay, Lin Yi replied faintly. Jiang Wen wasn't too happy about Lin Yi going with him, but Meng Yao being able to go was already good enough. He couldn't afford to cause more trouble. If he didn't let Lin Yi go, Meng Yao would be pissed off and refuse to go. That wouldn't be fun. He smiled. Aha, Yao Yao, I was going to invite Lin Yi bro even if he didn't ask. We're good friends. Is there anything else? Meng Yao looked at Jiang Wen. Jiang Wen knew that Meng Yao was asking him to leave, but he didn't want to. He still wanted to stay a little longer. Let's wait for Tai Zhao. He went to buy fruits and shoes sick. As her brother, we can't come empty-handed, can we? Oh, tell him to buy some more then. I'm starving. Yushu ordered after hearing that Tai Zhao was going out to buy food. Okay, I'll call him now. Jiang Wen's eyes brightened. He finally had a reason to stay a little longer. Afraid that Meng Yao would interfere, Jiang Wen quickly took out his phone and dialed Tai Zhao's number. Tai Zhao, shoes hungry. Go buy some fruits and some dinner too. Go to a few more places and buy a few more dishes. Don't go too little. Jiang Wen's hint was very clear. As long as Tai Zhao wasn't an idiot, he'd know what he meant. He wanted Tai Zhao to stay a little longer and not come back immediately. Chapter 620. Chapter 620, Chu Pingzhan's phone, no rush, no rush. We can't rush even if there's a traffic jam, right? Safety first. Jiang Wen smiled faintly, praising Tai Zhao's teamwork. Meng Yao glared at Yushu, annoyed at her for being a busybody. Couldn't she have asked Lin Yi to cook for her if she wanted to eat? What was she supposed to ask Tai Zhao to buy? Now that this guy was here and not leaving, how annoying was he? Yushu knew that she was in trouble, and she pouted. But she had an idea. She looked at the time. Jiang Wen only had 7 minutes left to flirt with Yao Yao. Jiang Wen kept on talking in front of Meng Yao, and Meng Yao kept on talking to him. Lin Yi, naturally, didn't feel like staying here any longer and went back to his room. Jiang Wen wouldn't be able to do anything in the villa, and he didn't have to keep an eye on him. Oh, it's time for the cartoon. Today's Saturday, the theatrical version of Happy Goat and Big Big Wolf. Yushu jumped up from the sofa and turned on the TV, changing the channel with the remote. As expected, the familiar music of Happy Goat and Big Big Wolf came from the TV. Jiang Wen had long since gotten used to Yushu's crazy personality. Yushu was pretty, but who could resist a personality like that? Luckily, the one he liked was Meng Yao. Otherwise, he'd be screwed if he got together with Yushu. Jiang Wen ignored Yushu and kept on talking to Meng Yao. Hey, stop talking. I can't hear you. Yushu waved her hand at Jiang Wen impatiently. Why are you so rude? They're watching TV. Jiang Wen was about to explode. What did his words have to do with Yushu? But he couldn't afford to piss Yushu off, so he didn't dare talk back. First of all, Yushu was from House Chun, a noble house's descendant. Even if he had the backing of the Firewolf Gang, he couldn't represent the Firewolf Gang. He also didn't have the guts to go against the Chun family. Secondly, Yushu was still Meng Yao's best friend, even if the Firewolves were to support him. If he pissed her off, he'd never be able to pursue Meng Yao in the future. Yao Yao, let's talk over there. Jiang Wen held in his breath, still maintaining the smile on his face as he pointed at the restaurant. I want to watch the cartoon too. I haven't seen this episode yet. Meng Yao pointed at the TV. Watch it with us. Why? Jiang Wen almost jumped up from his seat. How old was he? Watching cartoons. If word of this got out, wouldn't he be laughed at to death? This was the first time Meng Yao invited him to do something with her. Watching TV was like watching a movie, wasn't it? He'd just take it as Meng Yao asking him to watch a movie. With that thought, Jiang Wen calmed down. Sure, let's watch it together then. Watching cartoons, of course, meant that he couldn't talk. Jiang Wen hadn't watched this series before, and he couldn't focus on it all. He could only sit there and watch. He felt that time was getting too long. Why wasn't this Tai Zhao back yet? He'd be able to get out of this situation if he came back. What a blunder. If he knew that Yushu wanted to watch cartoons, he wouldn't have stayed here. He might as well just leave. Jiang Wen couldn't take it anymore and went outside to call Tai Zhao. Where are you? Why aren't you back yet? Buying food for a year? Ah, and bro, didn't you tell me to go back later? Tai Zhao had parked his car by the roadside, leisurely smoking as he enjoyed the night view. Jiang Wen's shout startled him. All right, hurry up and come back. Hurry up, Jiang Wen said, a little troubled. See, Yao Yao? I'm good, aren't I? Yushu said proudly. Haha, at least you're smart. Otherwise, I'd be annoyed to death by him. Meng Yao felt that her best friend wasn't stupid at all. In fact, she was very smart. It was just that her way of expressing herself was a little different. Tai Zhao came back soon with a bunch of fruits and bento. Yushu invited Jiang Wen to watch TV and eat together, but Jiang Wen shamelessly rejected her. He couldn't take it anymore. What was the point of staying here if he couldn't talk to Meng Yao? Go get Lin, Yi, and tell him to eat with us. Meng Yao opened the bento Tai Zhao bought and placed it on the coffee table after Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao left. Tai Zhao had bought a total of 5 bento boxes, all of them quite high quality. It shouldn't be cheap, and he and Jiang Wen were included as well. Of course, they wouldn't be able to eat it. Oh, Yushu was salivating as she looked at the bento on the coffee table. She didn't even want to stand up. She wanted to eat it right away. Meng Yao saw that Yushu wasn't reacting and sighed helplessly. She got up and called Lin Yi, knocking on Lin Yi's door twice. Lin Yi, come eat. Meng Yao didn't know why she had to call Lin Yi. Perhaps it was because he cooked for her and Shu every day, and she couldn't just call him when she was eating? That would be too ungrateful. They're gone. Lin Yi was lying on the bed, texting Tang Yin, telling her that he'd contacted Air Gooden and that the medicine would be here soon. He told her not to worry about Juqing's injuries. Let's go. Tai Zhao bought some bento. Do you want some? Meng Yao pointed at the bento on the coffee table. Yeah, we don't have to prepare dinner tonight anyway. Lin Yi walked out with Meng Yao. Fauber usually wouldn't bring food over on Saturdays, so Lin Yi had to think of ways to solve the problem. When Lin Yi sat on the sofa, Yushu was almost done with the bento box. She didn't look like she was going to stop. Don't eat too much, or you'll die from overeating. Lin Yi reminded. No more. Meng Yao was worried that Yushu would get into trouble again. She put away the 2 bento boxes, afraid that Yushu would eat them too. Oh, okay. Yushu felt wronged, but she didn't dare disobey. She didn't want to overeat again. After dinner, Lin Yi cleaned up the bento boxes and put the remaining 2 in the fridge. He'd heat them up for breakfast tomorrow. After he was done, he got a call from Pengzhan. Uncle Chu. Lin Yi picked up. What's up? Yet 2 things. Pengzhan said. Yao Yao isn't with you, is she? Is it convenient to talk? Chapter 621. I have Shield Brolin. He glanced at Meng Yao and Yushu, who were watching cartoons in the living room. He lowered his voice and said, They're watching cartoons in the living room. If there's anything, just tell me, Uncle Chu. All right, the first thing is about you. Pengzhan didn't beat around the bush and said, Sihua came to me today and asked me about your injury and background. I didn't say anything, but I don't know if he guessed anything from my vague words. I don't think Zhao Qibing will let this go so easily. He's definitely going to do something to you. You have to be prepared. Ask about me? Lin Yi smiled. It's nothing. Just ask then. If they want to do something to me, they can come to me. Lin Yi was a little wary of the people around Zhao Qibing, but he wasn't afraid of them. Although he was injured quite badly from the fight, he had the Jade training space. Lin Yi didn't believe that Uncle Zhu had something like that. Even if he used a large amount of treasures, he wouldn't be able to recover without at least a year and a half, according to what Jiao Lao said. So Lin Yi wasn't afraid of Zhao Qibing's revenge at all. Send as many masters as you want. I'll run after we're both injured. I'll run back. And when I recover the next day, I'll continue to fight with the masters around you. I don't believe that you have an endless supply of masters around you. Let's see if you can still be happy when all your masters are lying on the bed. With the Jade space, as long as Lin Yi didn't meet a particularly strong master, Lin Yi would have nothing to fear. No matter what, you still have to be careful. Pengzhan knew that Lin Yi had a certain level of confidence after hearing his words. He wasn't as worried as before. I don't want anything to happen to you. Don't worry, Uncle Chu. If I can't win, I'll run. Lin Yi didn't think that running away was embarrassing at all. What was there to be embarrassed about? If he couldn't win, Then he would be the one with the problem. Then I'm relieved. Peng Zhan nodded and continued. Secondly, I want you to help me find out why Yao Yao went to that MT Shuangyin with Zhong Pingliang. I was in a hurry, so I didn't ask about it. I wanted to ask about it yesterday, but something happened to you yesterday, so I didn't mention those unhappy things again. So I asked you to help me ask about it. I really don't know about this matter. Lenny said, I'll find time to ask about it, and then call you. There's no rush. There's no need to ask specifically. We'll talk about it when we have a chance. Peng Zhan didn't want to interfere with his daughter's private life too much. She was a grown-up, after all, and she wasn't that gullible. There had to be a reason why she followed Pin Liang up the mountain. All right, I'll find a chance to ask her. Lin Yi nodded, feeling that it wasn't a good idea to ask Meng Yao about this. Yu Qian didn't give up and called Ling Shan after he got out of the toll booth. But Ling Shan's tone was cold. Chen Yu Qian, you're back. What's up? Ling Shan had saved this number in her phone yesterday, but to Yu Qian, it was only a friendship. Nothing. I just wanted to tell you that I'm back. Yu Qian always felt pressured in front of Ling Shan. Ling Shan's dominance made him uncomfortable, but he couldn't bring himself to resist. Oh, I understand. Ling Shan said faintly. Is there anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. You really don't have time tonight? Yu Qian asked after some hesitation. No, I'm busy. Bye. Ling Shan didn't wait for Yu Qian to reply and hung up the phone. Yu Qian laughed at himself and called Jiang Wen. Tu, where are you? Tai Zhao and I are at Starlight Hotel, VIP room number 1 on the 5th floor. Shu and Yao Yao will be here tonight. Jiang Wen said with a smile. All right, I'll be there in a bit. Yu Qian sighed. Jiang Wen was using him as an excuse to get close to Meng Yao. How could Yu Qian not know about this? But it seemed like his sister didn't have many pursuers. Yu Qian used to be afraid that people would harass his sister and affect her life, but she was 18 now. She was about to go to university. Wasn't it weird that no one was pursuing her? But thinking about his sister's personality, Yu Qian sweated. With that personality of hers, there weren't many men who could get along with her, right? She was either a prank, or she was just an idiot. That Wu Shaoqian had only been fooled by Yushu's appearance back then. If he'd known Yushu's personality, he wouldn't have dared to make a move so easily. If he brought Yushu home, it would be fine if she liked him, but if she didn't, he would be toyed with to death. After some thought, Chen Yuqian called Yushu. Shu, where are you? Do you miss your brother? Yuqian sighed. He went to the border for more than a year and never returned to Songshan. He didn't know how his sister was doing. When he was in Songshan, he was his sister's guardian angel. He didn't know if Yushu would rely on him like before. Oh, Yao Yao and I are about to leave. Yushu received a call from her brother. I missed you before, but not anymore. I have Shield Bro. I don't need to miss you anymore. Shield Bro? Yu Qian froze. Who's Shield Bro? Oh, Yao Yao's follower and bodyguard. Yushu hated her brother for going to the special training for a woman. He even went to the border to train. She was still holding a grudge against Yu Tian's attitude. She wouldn't let go of this opportunity to piss him off. What was so good about that fox Lingshan? She made her brother fall head over heels for her, and she still didn't dump him. Yushu felt embarrassed. Look at how powerful Shield Bro was. He had Lingshan in his palm. She wouldn't dare to go west if he told her to go east. So in comparison, Shield Bro was still stronger. Chen Yutian gritted his teeth in anger. Where did this random follower come from and steal his limelight? His sister had always looked up to him, and whenever she was in trouble, she would think of him first. How to become Shield Bro. Chapter 622. Between Yao Yao and Tang Yun, who was prettier. In fact, Yushu was proud of Yutian in the past, but ever since Yutian started going after Lingshan, Yushu wasn't too happy about it. Especially when Lingshan ignored her brother, saying that she would only accept him if he defeated her. Wasn't she just making things difficult for him? Her brother was an idiot, saying that Yushu was an idiot, and Yushu thought that he was even more of an idiot. Was it worth it for a woman? After a year of special training, 2 years of experience, it seemed like he was still no match for that fox Lingshan. Otherwise, her brother would have gotten her already, and wouldn't be so low profile. It was a dinner party, a formal one at that. Yushu was dressed in a cute Lolita style, while Meng Yao was more on the innocent side. She looked a little older than Yushu, but Meng Yao looked a little older than Yushu. Shu, are you ready? We're leaving. Meng Yao knocked on the door of the dressing room. Oh, wait, I'll be ready soon. It was rare for Yushu to dress up formally, and it was only because her brother was back that she dressed up properly. Although she seemed cold towards her brother's return, she really missed her brother. After all, they hadn't seen each other for more than a year, not even for Chinese New Year. Oh, Meng Yao wasn't in a rush. Since she was attending Jiang Wen's banquet, she didn't have a good sense of time. It didn't matter if it was earlier or later. Lin Yi took Meng Yao's Audi S5 out of the garage and parked it in front of the villa, waiting for Yushu and Meng Yao. His phone rang, and Lin Yi thought that it was Jiang Wen calling to rush him. Jiang Wen didn't dare rush Meng Yao, but he could call Lin Yi to ask about their departure. However, Lin Yi was surprised when he looked at the caller ID. It was Ling Shan. Hello, Miss Braindead, what's up? Instinctively, Lin Yi knew that Ling Shan wasn't looking for him for anything good, so his tone wasn't polite at all. Ling Shan's face froze. It had been a long time since she'd heard the nickname Miss Braindead, and she'd almost forgotten that she was Miss Braindead. However, she wasn't annoyed. She took a deep breath and tried to sound cute. Yeah, Miss Braindead has something to ask of you. Huh, what is it? Lin Yi wanted to laugh every time Ling Shan called herself that. Was this considered flirting between lovers? Ever since the kidney trafficking organization's transit point was destroyed, we haven't found any other clues. Ling Shan said helplessly. But the criminal organization hasn't stopped their footsteps. They've shifted their target to the villages near the city. In the past week, there have been 2 cases of kidney removal at Kayazi village in the east and Shinbu village in the west. My boss has given me an order to solve the case in 2 weeks, or I'll be sent home. Oh, I see. Lin Yi replied faintly. Hey, you won't let Miss Braindead lose her job, will you? Take pity on her and think of a way to help her get through this? Ling Shan felt like her teeth were going to fall off from the sourness, but she said it so naturally, without any hesitation at all. Since when did she feel that it was natural for her to lower her voice in front of Lin Yi? What can I do? Lin Yi heard Ling Shan's pitiful words, but he really couldn't do anything. He couldn't just leave Meng Yao and Yushu to help her solve the case, could he? The miss would be furious again. You won't leave her to die, will you? Ling Shan was really starting to panic. She'd just been scolded by her leader today, and if she couldn't solve the case in 2 weeks, she wouldn't lose her job like she said, but she wouldn't have the face to be the captain anymore. I'll keep an eye out for you. Lin Yi agreed after some hesitation. Ling Shan's attitude made it hard for Lin Yi to reject her. Whether it was for Huaijuan's sake or his personal relationship with Ling Shan, Lin Yi couldn't just ignore her. Okay. Call me if you have any news. Miss Braindead's phone is on 24/7. Ling Shan was very happy when she heard Lin Yi's answer. Lin Yi didn't say anything and hung up the phone with a faint smile. Ling Shan, on the other hand, had an indescribable feeling welling up in her heart. Was she still the same person she used to be? Why did she have to lower her voice to Lin Yi? Where was the arrogant and strong Ling Shan from before? If her friends knew that she was flirting with a man and calling herself Miss Braindead, wouldn't they laugh their heads off? No, she couldn't let anyone know about this. The reason why Lin Yi promised Ling Shan to keep an eye out for her was because Lin Yi had found a breakthrough. That was Jiang Wen. He just told Jiang Wen that he was going to take care of Pin Liang, and the next day, Pin Liang's kidney was cut off. It was fine if he was beaten up, but a kidney was cut off. This was a sensitive issue. Although Fabai didn't call the police, Lin Yi knew about it. Even if Pin Liang's kidney wasn't cut off by Jiang Wen, he must have a close relationship with Jiang Wen. Jiang Wen must have been in contact with a kidney trafficking organization. Because of this, Lin Yi agreed to Ling Shan's request. Although Ling Shan made it sound pitiful, Lin Yi didn't like to do things he wasn't confident in. Since he was having dinner with Jiang Wen today, Lin Yi could ask Jiang Wen about his relationship with the kidney trafficking organization. Not long after hanging up, Meng Yao and Yushu came out of the house. When the 2 girls appeared, Lin Yi was stunned. The two girls were already very beautiful without dressing up. Today, they were going out for dinner and dressed up. Lin couldn't help but be stunned. What are you looking at? Meng Yao saw that Lin was staring at her. Although she scolded Lin, she was secretly happy. He finally knew that there were two pretty girls at home. Ha! Lin smiled and retracted his gaze. Yao Yao sis is prettier than Tang Yin, right? Yushu asked with a smile. Chapter 6:23. A blunder caused by a misunderstanding, however. The Miss and Tang Yun were both very pretty. If one had to say who was prettier, it could only be said that they each had their own merits. The Miss today would naturally be prettier than Tang Yun without makeup. There was no doubt about that. Lin Yi said, she's prettier than Tang Yun after makeup. Lin Yi's words didn't offend anyone. Although he was praising Meng Yao, he also said that Meng Yao was only better after makeup. Before makeup, they were about the same. However, Miss Chu had automatically ignored the words makeup queen. She felt a little smug as she glanced at Lin Yi. At least you have good taste. Oh, what about me? Yushu asked, using Meng Yao as the vanguard before bringing herself out. You're about the same as Yao Yao. Lin Yi didn't know how to answer. Oh, am I really that pretty? That's great. I finally met someone who isn't blind. Oh. Yushu cried out in surprise and glanced at Meng Yao. Shu, why are you looking at me? Are you saying that I'm blind? Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Yeah, who told you to say that I'm not as pretty as you? Yushu said confidently. Stupid girl, when did I say that? Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Then why did you admit it? Yushu retorted. I didn't admit it. You were the one looking at me. Meng Yao was pissed. Yushu had tricked her. Then why are you feeling guilty? Yushu asked. I'm not feeling guilty, although I did say that my body is more balanced than yours. Meng Yao said angrily. Oh, people with small chests always say that they're balanced. Yushu wasn't happy. You stupid girl, I'll tear your mouth off. Meng Yao went to pull Yushu's face. Shield bro, Yao Yao sis is trying to kill me again. Yushu screamed. All right, I'm driving. Lin Yi didn't know who to help, so he changed the topic. Right, Yao Yao. Why did you go to Mount Shuangyin with Pingyang? Lin Yi remembered the mission Pingzhan had given him on the phone before, and he decided to take this opportunity to ask about it. That big liar Pin Liang lied to me on purpose. Meng Yao felt hurt when she thought about it. Pin Liang didn't just lie to her IQ. He lied to her feelings as well. Pin Liang didn't mean love with Pin Liang, of course, but the longing for her family. Pin Liang had given Meng Yao hope, only to have it destroyed again and again. If Pin Liang hadn't brought it up, Meng Yao would have kept it as an eternal pain deep in her heart, not letting it out easily. But Pin Liang's release of this sadness gave Meng Yao hope. How could she not be depressed? Every time she thought about it, Meng Yao would cry silently. She wasn't crying because she fell for Pin Liang's trick, but because she missed her mother. She really wanted it. Everyone else had maternal love, but she didn't. Although she was the daughter of Pengzhan Industries and lived a luxurious life, she would rather not have all of this. She wanted a complete family. A happy home where he could have dinner with his parents every night. Lie to you, Lin Yi was driving, so he didn't notice the change in Meng Yao's mood. Meng Yao's heart ached again as she thought of her mother. Yao Yao, don't cry. Okay, you're prettier than me, okay? Yushu held Meng Yao's hand and comforted her. Yushu would argue with Meng Yao about meaningless things sometimes, but she still missed Meng Yao a lot. Her attitude changed immediately when she saw Meng Yao sad. Cry? Lin Yi paused and looked at Meng Yao through the rearview mirror. Her eyes were red as if she was about to cry. Yao Yao, what's wrong? Zhong Pingyang lied to Yao Yao, saying that he saw someone who looked very similar to Yao Yao at Mount Shuangyin. Yushu said for Meng Yao. Zhong Pingyang made it sound so real and trick Yao Yao. In the end, Yao Yao and I followed Zhong Pingyang up the mountain, and we were locked in a cave. Someone who looked very similar? Lin Yi was even more shocked. The miss wasn't that retarded, was she? It was just someone who looked similar, and she was tricked by Pin Liang to see what was going on? Yeah, Yao Yao thought that the person Zhong Pingliang saw was her mother. Yushu nodded and explained. Yushu, on the other hand, was no longer as playful as before. Her mother? Lin, he couldn't understand. Yao Yao's mother, isn't she dead? Your mother is dead. Meng Yao was furious. Not only did Lin he not comfort her, but he even cursed her mother to be dead. Lin, he scratched his scalp, wondering if he'd misunderstood something. Could it be that Meng Yao's mother wasn't dead? Then why would Peng Zhan say that Meng Yao's mother left them when Meng Yao was very young? Damn! Lin, he came back to his senses abruptly. He'd misunderstood this leave. Usually, death could also mean leave, and in this kind of tone and situation, leave basically meant that. However, Peng Zhan's leave might be the original meaning of leave. That was, for some reason, Meng Yao's mother ran away from home. Lin, he couldn't help but sweat at the thought. This was a big mistake. He offended the miss for no reason, and it wasn't worth it. However, Lin, he didn't care about the miss's retaliation. Your mother is the dead one. Lin, he didn't even know who his mother was, and he didn't know if she was still alive, so Lin, he didn't feel pressured at all. He had never seen his parents since he was young, and although he did fantasize about his parents when he was young, he had gotten used to it after so many years. He treated old Lin and his master as his family. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Your mother left home? Lin, he explained embarrassedly. What kind of attitude is that? You're still laughing? Is it funny? Are you mocking me because I'm pitiful? Meng Yao heard that Lin, he was laughing, and she got even angrier. This was the weakness that was sealed deep in her heart, and Lin Yi's attitude enraged her. Chapter 624. Chen Yu Qian'a? Lin Yi's words stunned both Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin, he had never told the miss and Yushu about his background, and they didn't think much about it. Now that Lin, he told them about it, they realized that Lin, he had such a tragic background. He was an orphan? Oh my God, how did he survive all these years? He looked like he didn't care about anything, but could it be that he had a sad side that no one noticed? A woman's natural motherly instinct made the miss feel pity for Lin Yi. Yes, she was nothing compared to him. At least she saw her mother, and she had a father who loved her. But what about Lin Yi? He didn't even know who his parents were. Wasn't that even more pitiful? I'm sorry. The miss was someone who could learn from her mistakes. She apologized immediately after hearing Lin Yi's words. I shouldn't have said that. I really didn't know. You're even more pitiful than me, huh? I'm used to it, it's fine. Lin, he shook his head. Don't fall for it again. If something like this happens, you have to inform your father first. I believe he knows your mother better than you do. And Meng Yao nodded, surprisingly not refuting Lin Yi's words. The atmosphere was a little sad as they talked, but the miss's mood recovered a little. She still couldn't be happy, but at least she wouldn't cry anymore. Lin Yi parked the car in the parking lot of the Starlight Hotel, half an hour late. The two girls had stayed at home for a while, and they'd gotten into a car accident on the way. They were stuck in traffic for a while, and that was why they were late. However, none of them looked embarrassed. They got out of the car confidently and walked to the hotel. Lin, he was just a follower, so it didn't matter to him whether he was late or not. He followed the two into the hotel leisurely. Chen Yuqian was already in the room, talking to Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao. His face looked normal, but he was extremely unhappy on the inside. One was because of Ling Shan's rejection, and the other was because of that shield bro who popped out of nowhere. His sister said that she didn't need him anymore. She had shield bro. Chen Yuqian was furious. He only had one sister, and now she was going to be taken away? What shield bro, shield sis? I'm going to see who this shield bro really is. Wasn't he Meng Yao's follower and bodyguard? He wanted to see if this person had the qualifications to be her bodyguard. If he wasn't qualified, then fuck off and let him be shield bro somewhere else. At least this place didn't welcome him. As they were talking, there was a knock on the door. Jiang Wen wanted to open the door and welcome Meng Yao, but Yu Qian stood up first. He wanted to see who this shield bro was. Come in. Chen Yuqian opened the door as he spoke, and Meng Yao and Yushu walked in. Yu Qian bro. Meng Yao was very polite to Yushu's brother. She greeted him as soon as she entered the room before turning to Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao. Jiang Wen bro. Tai Zhao bro. Bro. Yushu followed Meng Yao into the room, but Yu Tian's face darkened. Where's that shield, bro? Is he coming with us? Yu Tian wasn't an impulsive person, but he had no choice but to stand up. His sister was taken away. How could he not be worried? Yushu made it very clear that she had shield bro now, and she didn't need him as her brother anymore. How could Yu Tian not be troubled? Not angry? Oh, you're looking for shield bro? Yushu didn't seem to notice the tense expression on Yu Tian's face. He's in the back. Yu Tian nodded and walked to the door. When Linny came in, he reached out his hand. You're that shield bro, right? Let me introduce myself. I'm Yushu's brother, Yu Tian. Shin Yu Tian wanted to embarrass this shield bro. He was already at the early phase of the golden class, and normal people weren't his match. He wanted to let his sister know that her brother was always the strongest. Huh. Lin Yi looked at Yu Tian with a weird expression, but he still reached out his hand. Huh. Yu Tian's eyes widened as he stared at Lin Yi. He couldn't believe his eyes. He pointed at Lin Yi in excitement. You. Teach. Let me introduce myself. I'm the shield bro you mentioned. Lin Yi interrupted Yu Tian with a smile. Yao Yao and Shu's follower. Ah. Yu Tian was even more shocked. He was Meng Yao and his sister's follower? What was going on? How did he become their follower? Wasn't Meng Yao and his sister too important? They actually invited him to be their follower? But looking at Lin Yi's actions, Yu Tian understood that Lin Yi didn't want him to reveal his identity. He introduced himself to Yu Tian as Meng Yao and Yushu's follower. Yu Tian found it hard to believe, but since Lin Yi didn't want to reveal his identity, he wouldn't say it. He held on to Lin Yi's hand excitedly. Hello. I'm Yu Tian, Yushu's brother. Zhang Wen and Tai Zhao frowned. What was wrong with this Yu Tian? Before Lin Yi came, he said that he wanted to teach this Lin Yi a lesson for stealing his sister's place. Why was he like this now? Yushu wasn't afraid of her brother bullying Lin Yi. Instead, she wanted her brother to suffer in front of Lin Yi. She stopped thinking about Ling Shan, but she didn't expect her brother to act like this. As if he regretted not meeting Lin Yi earlier. Since you're Yushu's brother, I'll call you Yu Tian bro. Lin Yi was younger than Yu Tian, so calling him Yu Tian bro wasn't a bad thing. Yu Tian, on the other hand, was flattered. He was about to reject when he saw Lin Yi's sharp eyes. He quickly nodded. Okay, I'll call you Lil Bro then. Meng Yao and Yushu widened their eyes. Was this Yu Tian someone who was easy to talk to? Even if Lin Yi was their follower and bodyguard, Yu Tian didn't have to thank Lin Yi for protecting them every day. Did he? The two looked at each other and saw confusion in each other's eyes. Chapter 6:25. Drowning his sorrows in wine even if he was defeated by Ling Shan today, and he was pissed off by Shield Bro, and he was surprised when he saw Lin. Yu Tian felt that he couldn't stay calm. It seemed like his years of training weren't enough. On the other hand, Lin Yi was still expressionless, as if he didn't know him. Yu Tian couldn't help but sigh. The gap between them was something he would never be able to catch up to. Yushu was also curious about her brother's attitude towards Lin Yi. Why didn't he seem to be hostile towards Lin Yi? Was it because Shield Bro was too weak that her brother couldn't bring himself to be hostile towards him? Or was it because he was too strong that her brother didn't dare to be hostile towards him? After they sat down, Zhang Wen told the waiters to start serving the dishes and ordered quite a lot of red wine. Since the food was prepared beforehand, it didn't take much time for Meng Yao and the others to arrive and serve the food on the table. Yu Tian bro, I didn't think that you're a major now. We've all grown up. As the host today, Zhang Wen naturally raised his glass first. In the blink of an eye, we're about to start our own families. I miss those carefree days. Ha! People have to grow up eventually. Yu Tian raised his glass as well, but he felt bitter in his heart. If it wasn't for Ling Shan, he wouldn't have walked the path of righteousness, right? Would he still be as spoiled as before? Yu Tian could never forget Ling Shan's look of disdain. That hatred towards spoiled young masters came from the bottom of her heart. This was also the reason why Yu Tian pulled himself together. However, Yu Tian still couldn't surpass Ling Shan. No matter how hard he tried, he started too late. He wasn't as good as Ling Shan, and naturally, he couldn't catch up no matter how hard he tried. What surprised Lin, it was that Meng Yao raised her glass as well and drank it all in one gulp. The miss didn't like Jiang Wen at all, right? Why would she drink all the red wine in the glass under his suggestion? Lin glanced at Meng Yao in surprise, only to see that her expression was very lonely. Lin was slightly stunned, but he immediately understood that the eldest miss was still thinking about her mother and had not recovered from her emotional state. At this moment, she was just drowning her sorrows in alcohol. Lin had gotten over his parents' issues a long time ago, but Meng Yao wasn't the same way. She had seen her mother when she was young, and Lin had never seen his parents before. It was a completely different feeling, and so Meng Yao missed them and felt melancholy. She had always hidden these emotions in her heart, but Pin Liang had pulled them out, and she had no way to vent them. It was an oppressive feeling, and if she couldn't release it, she'd be in a bad mood. Drinking to drown her sorrows wasn't a bad idea. In fact, that was exactly what Meng Yao was thinking. She wouldn't drink if she were to eat with Jiang Wen alone. Who knew what Jiang Wen would do if she got drunk? But now that Lin was beside her, Meng Yao let down her guard. She didn't believe that Lin wouldn't care about her if she got drunk. She had this shield anyway. It'd be a waste if she didn't use it. Jiang Wen saw Meng Yao drink all the wine in one gulp, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by excitement. He was afraid that Meng Yao wouldn't give him face and not drink. If that happened, then he wouldn't be able to drink too much. If he didn't drink enough, then he wouldn't be able to confess after drinking too much. He and Tai Zhao had thought of a lot of excuses to persuade Meng Yao to drink, but it seemed like they were useless now. Jiang Wen was still troubled. What was wrong with Meng Yao today? Why wasn't she playing by the rules? He'd wasted so many brain cells thinking of excuses, and now it was all wasted. Yao Yao, why did you drink so much? You should notice that something was wrong as well. Nothing, I just wanted a drink, Meng Yao said faintly, not admitting the unhappiness in her heart. Oh, then can I drink as well? Yushu bit her lips, looking at the red wine in her glass with greedy eyes. She didn't drink normally, because she didn't have much contact with things like this at home. Meng Yao didn't let her drink normally, and she'd thought about it a couple of times, but Meng Yao always rejected her. She didn't think that Meng Yao would take the initiative to drink today. Sure, but not too much. Meng Yao nodded after some hesitation. Oh, Yushu picked up her glass of red wine. She didn't drink when they raised their glasses earlier, and now that no one raised their glasses, she started enjoying the wine. Fortunately, everyone here was used to Yushu's personality, and no one said anything. It's sweet and sour. It looks pretty good. Yushu took a sip and drank the whole glass in one gulp. It wasn't a top-grade red wine, but it was Jiang Wen's treat, and it wouldn't be cheap. Drink more if it tastes good. Jiang Wen was afraid that they wouldn't drink, so he filled his glass and raised it again. Cheers, Shu, Yao Yao. I wish you two eternal beauty and youth. Yushu didn't give Jiang Wen any face at all. She didn't even wait for him to finish before pouring another glass. Yao Yao, this is better than fruit juice. But you can't drink too much, you'll get drunk. Meng Yao said, but she really wanted to get drunk. She'd be able to forget the sadness in her heart, and when she woke up, she'd be back to her strong self. What's this? Yushu asked as she took the bottle from Lin after another drink. I don't know, but it's drinkable. Meng Yao didn't drink much, so how would she know? Even if she came from a rich family, she was still a 12th grader. Peng Zhan wouldn't allow her to drink as she pleased. Chapter 626. More bottles? 09 Lafite tastes pretty much the same as an 82 Lafite, and so it's one of the best-selling years in the market. The price is fair, and the taste is pure. Tai Zhao added, oh, looks like Jiang Wen Bro's not bad, treating us to a world-famous wine. Yushu nodded and turned to Meng Yao happily. Right, Yao Yao, sis. Jiang Wen felt really good after hearing Yushu's words. Yushu, oh Yushu, you've never done anything good for me all these years, and now you're finally saying something fair for me. You're too awesome. Haha, it's nothing. As long as Yao Yao and Shu are happy, a few bottles are nothing. Jiang Wen said faintly with a wave of his hand. Yeah, but what does that 82 law fight taste like? Yao Yao sis, do you want some? Yushu turned to Meng Yao. Meng Yao was feeling a little sad at first, but Yushu's words made her want to laugh. So this was a girl's goal. She wanted to try another 82 law fight. Jiang Wen's face froze. He didn't expect Yushu to say that. Wasn't this a trap? 82 law fight? The market price of that wine was over 150,000, and in this Starlight Hotel, it was sold for 300,000. Jiang Wen's kidneys were hurting. Jiang Wen bro, Yao Yao wants to try 82 law fight too. We haven't tried it yet. Can you get us a few bottles? Yushu had used this trick on Pin Liang countless times, and it was a piece of cake for her. A few bottles? My kidneys. Jiang Wen almost fainted on the spot. 300,000 a bottle. One bottle was equivalent to one kidney, and some kidneys couldn't even be bought at this price. Did this Miss Chen really think she was a millionaire? Did she think it was easy to earn money? The police were pressuring him, and his business was decreasing. He had no choice, and he sold his kidneys all the way to the countryside. He couldn't even get 1 or 2 kidneys a week, and now he was eating a couple of kidneys in one meal. He was so pissed that he wanted to curse. He glared at Tai Zhao. What the hell was wrong with your mouth? If you don't speak, will people think you're mute? How was Yushu supposed to know about 82 law fight if you didn't mention 82 law fight? But he couldn't lose his temper on the spot. That would make him look like a coward. How was he going to pursue Meng Yao then? Especially since Yushu said that Meng Yao wanted a drink as well. How could he say no? Waiter, 2 bottles of 1982 law fight. Jiang Wen endured the pain in his heart and ordered 2 bottles. 2 bottles aren't enough, right? Yao Yao and I have a bottle each. What do you guys want? Yushu took the 2 bottles of 82 law fight, all for herself. That's enough. We don't drink that. We used to drink it all the time. You two just have a taste. Jiang Wen wanted to cry. 2 bottles wasn't enough? Do you want me to sell my kidney? House and was rich, but the 2 brothers were in charge of their own businesses. Other than the money they had to give to the house and the firewolves, they didn't have much left. A meal that cost tens of thousands became hundreds of thousands. This was a huge blow to Jiang Wen's finances. Chen Yutian thought to himself that his sister was still as cruel as ever. It wasn't something a normal person could handle. But the weird thing was, how did he become Meng Yao and his sister's follower? What was going on? With his strength, he could protect any big shot, but why did he have to protect 2 little girls? But Lin Yi clearly didn't allow him to reveal his identity, so Yu Qian didn't dare to ask. But none of this could stop the passion in Yu Qian's heart. He admired Lin Yi. One could say that if it wasn't for Lin Yi, he wouldn't have the strength he had today. 2 bottles of 82 law fight were placed on the table. Lin Yi glanced at the seal and label casually. It was a real deal. Although there were a lot of counterfeit 1982 law fight in the market, the Starlight Hotel should not sell fake goods with its specifications and strength. After all, the price of the genuine goods was not cheap. It was 1 to 2 times the price of the normal channels. Yao Yao sis, let's drink 1 bottle first. Can we bring the other one back? Yushu felt that it was better to bring it home than to drink here. Shield Bro could cook some dishes, and the 3 of them could have a candlelight dinner together. How romantic would that be? Up to you. Whatever Meng Yao drank was the same. She just wanted to vent, to drown her sorrows with alcohol. She wanted to let the sadness in her heart dissipate along with the alcohol. Jiang Wen almost jumped up from his chair after hearing Yushu's words. You want to bring it back? Why didn't you say so earlier? Why did you buy it in the hotel? You could go to the store tomorrow and buy 1 bottle at a discount of 150,000. It was half a kidney. But Jiang Wen couldn't say this out loud. It would only make him lose more face. He could only endure it. His main mission today was to get everyone drunk and then confess his love. Jiang Wen could only put other thoughts aside. If his confession was successful today, then these 100,000 would be worth it. And so Jiang Wen started drinking as well. In order to make it seem real, he didn't purposely control his alcohol capacity. His alcohol capacity was quite high, and red wine wouldn't get him too drunk. Jiang Wen's anger lessened a little as he watched Tai Zhao raise his glass for all sorts of reasons. This guy was smart enough to help him drink. Yu Qian was very restrained today. because of Lin Yi's presence. He couldn't let himself go at all. He glanced at Lin Yi from the corner of his eyes, but Lin Yi was as calm as ever. He just sat there, looking straight ahead and not saying a word. But Chen Yutian still felt an invisible pressure suffocating him. Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao hadn't seen Yutian for a long time, so they didn't think much of it. They thought that Yutian's personality changed after he joined the army. Jiang Wen's main goal was to treat Meng Yao and then confess his love after drinking. So, what Yutian was like had nothing to do with him. It was just an excuse. The 4 young masters of Songshan were no longer the 4 young masters of Songshan. Their relationship wasn't as close as they thought. His phone rang, and Jiang Wen frowned. He took out his phone and looked at the caller ID. It was his follower, the tattooed man, calling. He hesitated before picking up the phone. "What's up? I'm having dinner." Chapter 627. Tipping off. Wait. Jiang Wen couldn't even tell Tai Zhao what he'd done, so he couldn't say it in the room. He stood up and said to the people in the room, "I'm going to take a call. Everyone drink first." With that, he got up and left the room. Lin Yi's hearing was amazing, but he couldn't hear what Jiang Wen was saying. He could only vaguely make out the word police. He'd been paying attention to Jiang Wen in the first place, and his instincts told him that there was something wrong with this call. After Jiang Wen left, Lin Yi stood up as well. "I'm going to the washroom." Tai Zhao didn't know that Jiang Wen's phone was behind his back, and he thought that Jiang Wen was trying to maintain his gentlemanly image in front of Meng Yao because it was impolite to make a call in the room. He didn't even look at Lin Yi when he left the room. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was just a small bodyguard, not worth mentioning. He was only being polite to Lin Yi so that he could help Jiang Wen pursue Meng Yao. Lin Yi broke Master Bing's legs and even tore down Master Bing's skyscraper. Tai Zhao was there with Jiang Wen at Master Bing's completion ceremony, and he couldn't believe it. How was Lin Yi still alive? After offending Master Bing, would he still be able to leisurely eat with Meng Yao and Yushu? Didn't Master Bing take revenge? But as weird as it was, Jiang Wen only smiled faintly when he told Tai Zhao about it, not explaining anything. Tai Zhao didn't know, but Jiang Wen did. Sihua had revealed that 2 of his golden class masters had died under Lin Yi's hands. Lin Yi wasn't a normal person, was he? If he were just a normal bodyguard, why would Jiang Wen pay him back? He'd suffered a few times in Jiang Wen's hands, and he'd still call him brother? Was there something wrong with his head? Jiang Wen's bodyguards weren't there yet, and he wouldn't mess with Lin Yi for no reason. As for why Master Bing didn't make a move, perhaps he was afraid? After all, Lin Yi and Sihua were enemies that couldn't be resolved. Of course, this had nothing to do with Jiang Wen. All he cared about was the family business and whether or not he could get Meng Yao. Nothing else mattered to him. After leaving the room, Jiang Wen walked to the end of the hallway, step by step, until there was no one around before continuing the call. Although he was a little drunk, he was still very cautious. There were some things that he absolutely could not let others know. He regretted cutting out one of Pin Liang's kidneys. Of course, he didn't regret offending Master Bing and Sihua because of Pin Liang. What he regretted was that he shouldn't have cut off Pin Liang's kidney. Crippling him or even crushing his balls was better than cutting off a kidney. Wouldn't that expose him easily? Fortunately, Fabai didn't call the police, and Sihua had a working relationship with him, so this matter was temporarily suppressed. Otherwise, something bad might happen. Why do you have to ask me about such a small matter? Just keep an eye on him. We'll talk about it after a while. Jiang Wen was in a hurry to confess to Meng Yao, so he was a little impatient with the tattooed guy. Bro, the fire wolves are rushing us. They're short on supplies. Why don't we spend some money to buy some? Some of those farmers are short on money. If we spend money to buy a kidney, we should be able to get some, the tattooed guy said carefully. By my ass, where's the money? Jiang Wen's heart was bleeding when he thought about how he had spent hundreds of thousands on today's meal. How would he be willing to spend money to buy a kidney? How many kidneys would he have to cut to cover the cost of today's meal? The tattooed guy didn't expect Jiang Wen to be this angry. He didn't dare to say anything. Useless thing. Kayaxi village is no good. Can't you go to another village? I heard that the Bin village in the north is also very poor. Many people are undocumented, and they don't even have a household registration. Can't you go there? Jangwon said impatiently. Yes, yes. We'll go to Bin Village next. The tattooed guy replied quickly. All right. Don't call me if there's nothing important. I still have things to do. Jangwon cursed and hung up the phone. He put away his phone and was about to go back to the room. Lin Yi flashed into the washroom at the side. Naturally, Jangwon didn't notice that Lin Yi was eavesdropping on his phone behind him. If Lin Yi was right, this Jangwon was most likely the mastermind behind the kidney trafficking organization. However, whether or not he sold his kidneys didn't really matter to Lin Yi. As long as it didn't implicate him and his friends, Lin Yi really couldn't be bothered with him. However, since Lingshan came to him for help, and Lin Yi also agreed to help her, so Lin Yi decided to help her this once. Seeing that there was no one in the washroom, Lin Yi dialed Lingshan's number. In fact, this floor was full of luxurious rooms, and every room had its own washroom. Therefore, there weren't many people in the public washroom. Other than the waiters, the customers didn't have to go to the public washroom. Lingshan received Lin Yi's call. She was inexplicably surprised. Although she didn't know why Lin Yi was looking for her, her instinct told her that it must be something good. There's a Bin village in the north of the city. You could pay attention to it. Lin Yi didn't waste any time and directly told Lingshan the news he heard from Jangwon. Bin village? Lingshan was stunned, but she immediately understood what Lin Yi meant. Could it be that it was the next target of the kidney trafficking organization? Lingshan was excited. Although she was curious how Lin Yi got the news, she was smart enough not to ask. Lingshan had seen Lin Yi's uniqueness firsthand, and as an obedient and lovable Miss Brain Dead, she knew that Lin Yi wouldn't like it if she kept asking him questions all the time. All right, I still have something to do. I'll hang up first. Lin Yi heard faint footsteps coming from the corridor and quickly said to Lingshan, Thanks. Miss Braindead will treat you to a meal next time. You've really helped her a lot. Lingshan said in a cute and gentle tone. Lin Yi didn't reply and directly hung up. Looking at the end of the call, Lingshan gritted her teeth in anger. Since when did she have to lower herself like this? This Lin, you didn't even care about her. However, Lingshan was disappointed again. Who asked her to ask Lin Yi for help? Forget it. She'll just treat it as a couple acting coquettishly. Luckily, there's no third person who knows. Lingshan comforted herself. Chapter 628. Reporting to you after leaving the office, Lingshan changed her gentle demeanor and turned to the captains. Turn off your phones and get ready for the meeting. We have an urgent mission tonight. Yes. Captain Song. The captains were troubled by the kidney trafficking case as well. This was the worst case that had happened in Songshan in the past few years, and even the provincial leaders had ordered the criminal investigation team to solve the case as soon as possible in order to minimize the negative effects of the criminal organization. Otherwise, the people in the city would be in a state of panic. Children wouldn't even dare to go to school by themselves. Even the kidney trafficking organization had become a terrifying code name. If a child cried, the parent would use the kidney trafficking organization to scare the child, and the child would immediately stop crying. The negative effects of the case had reached a certain level, and so the criminal police team had been working overtime to analyze the case and look for clues, but the progress was minimal. After all, this wasn't an individual crime, but a criminal organization with a tight organization and distribution channels. A criminal organization like this was the hardest to find evidence and clues because they would only make their move when they were looking for a kidney source, and after that, they would perform the surgery in their own territory to remove the kidney, and then have their own distribution channels to sell the kidney. During this time, they wouldn't contact a third party, and so there were no traces to follow. Captain Song, you found a clue? Lu Wangli was the closest to Lingshan, and so when he saw the serious expression on Lingshan's face, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that there was a breakthrough in the case? Yeah, at least there's a clue. Lingshan said proudly as she looked at everyone's respectful gazes. Lingshan felt that her acting like a spoiled brat wasn't for nothing. There's a clue? Everyone had a vague guess, but they weren't sure. After all, the case was too complicated. They admired and looked forward to Ling Shan. But to say that Ling Shan had found a clue just by staying in the office for a while was a little too unbelievable. After all, Ling Shan was still at her wits' end during the meeting in the afternoon and was scolded by the leaders. If it wasn't for Huaijuan, the entire criminal investigation team would have been scolded. I received a tip-off and found out the next location of the criminal group. Ling Shan wouldn't reveal the exact location before the action. These men were all trained by Huaijuan and could be trusted, but it was better to be safe than sorry. Who knew how long it'd take for them to get their hands on the information? Next, we'll talk about the plan. Let's brainstorm, everyone. If we arrest them directly, it might be the same as last time. They're all small fries and won't be of any help to the case. Everyone nodded after listening and began to express their opinions on the operation plan. Not long after he hung up the phone. He heard the footsteps at the door getting closer and closer. The person was obviously coming to the bathroom. He was a little puzzled. Who would want to go to the washroom? He thought it was a waiter, but the person who came made he slightly stunned. It was Chen Yutian. He smiled bitterly. He knew that Chen Yutian was here for him, or else he wouldn't come to the public washroom. Sir, Special Training Team 0197 reporting for duty. Chen Yutian stood up straight and solemnly saluted to Lin Yi. His words were crisp and clean. Huh? Lin Yi smiled faintly but didn't reply. He shrugged. I'm just a follower, not your instructor. Lin Yi didn't return the salute, which meant that Lin Yi had abandoned his previous identity. Chen Yutian's salute was wasted. His expression froze, but he didn't show any disrespect. Sir, after you left, I heard that you went on a special mission. How come? I came back a long time ago. Lin Yi's tone was still indifferent. I've said it before, I'm not your instructor now. I'm Ming Yao's follower, and of course, your sister's follower too. She calls me Shield Bro. You can call me that too. Or, if you're older than me, you can call me Shield Bro or Lin Yi. Lin Yi. So the instructor's name is Lin Yi. Today was the first time Chen Yutian heard Lin Yi's real name. In the special training team, Lin Yi's code name was Eagle, and all the members called Lin Yi Instructor or Instructor Eagle. All right, I should go back. Lin Yi didn't want to talk about the past, so he waved his hand and left the washroom. How did the instructor become my sister's follower? Chen Yutian couldn't understand this logic, but he couldn't do anything if Lin Yi didn't want to talk about it. He dreamed of meeting the instructor again one day and asking him to teach him a thing or two, but now that he met Lin Yi didn't want to talk about his previous identity. Chen Yutian couldn't bring up his request. Lin Yi went back to the room, and Jiang Wen continued to drink as usual. He didn't say anything when Lin Yi came in, because he didn't expect Lin Yi to tip Ling Shan off. Let's play something fun after drinking, shall we? What's the point of just drinking? Tai Zhao said, what do you guys say? He really was a little drunk. He didn't control his alcohol tolerance, so he was in a daze right now. But it was also because of this that it was more realistic and people couldn't see through it. Otherwise, with Ming Yao's intelligence, she would definitely see through it and think that it was an act. What do we play? What do you think? Jiang Wen looked at Meng Yao and Yu Shu. Do you guys have any suggestions? It's fun. I love playing. Yu Shu agreed with both hands. It was so boring to drink, and she would drag Yao Yao back home if they kept drinking. Meng Yao didn't say anything, nor did she refute. To be honest, she didn't want to play with Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao, but she remembered that Shu and Lin Yi were here, and she wanted to play, so she decided to play. I think, why don't we play truth or dare? Tai Zhao said, and Chen Yutian came back to the room. Tai Zhao heard him and said, Yutian bro, let's play together? We used to play a lot. Ha. Do you remember when you chose dare to kiss Ling Shan and got beaten up? Ha ha ha. Chapter 629. How embarrassing. Yutian's face darkened. This was something he'd done when he was younger, something Tai Zhao had planned, making him choose dare and kiss Ling Shan, but he'd gotten beaten up by Ling Shan instead. And this Tai Zhao was treating it as a joke. But seeing that Tai Zhao was drunk as well, Yutian didn't do anything out of respect for each other. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was taken aback. Yutian was Lingshan's pursuer? It seemed like Lingshan wasn't that interested in him. Lenny wondered how Lingshan would react if he kissed her. There was a high chance that he would swallow the humiliation. What's truth or dare? He had never heard of this game, nor had he played it before. Haha, it seems like Bro hasn't played it before. Tai Zhao, explain the rules. Jiang Wen said. All right, it's very simple. Tai Zhao said. Truth or dare is a game for many people to play together. You can use rock, paper, scissors, or you can spin a bottle to decide who to ask. Of course, you can also ask them one by one. We have more people, so we don't have to play rock, paper, scissors anymore. Then, let's say I'm a questioner, and I can ask a question, and the person has to answer it. And it has to be the truth, no bullshit. If someone sees through the bullshit, they'll have to drink a bottle as punishment. Of course, if the question is sensitive or personal, you can choose not to answer, but you'll have to choose dare. Dare, on the other hand, is where I ask a question and the person has to do it. There can't be any objections, and they have to do everything. After choosing dare, you can't go back on your words, unless you choose to drink a bottle as punishment. Oh, then you guys play first. I'll watch. Lenny didn't care if he participated or not. It didn't have much to do with him anyway. All right, we'll play first, then you watch. Tai Zhao nodded, agreeing to it. As far as he was concerned, it didn't matter if Lenny participated or not, as long as Meng Yao participated. I'll start with him, bro, then. All right, ask away. Jiang Wen nodded calmly. As far as he was concerned, Tai Zhao wouldn't ask him those tricky questions, and he couldn't just confess to Meng Yao in the first round, either. That would be too abrupt. He'd have to at least wait for a round before he could confess his love to Meng Yao. Then I'll start first. The first question won't be so tricky. Oomph, Tai Zhao said on purpose. My question is, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? The bravest? Jiang Wen thought about it. The bravest thing he'd ever done was cutting out someone else's kidney. Of course, he couldn't say that out loud. He still had to maintain a positive image in front of Meng Yao, so he couldn't talk about those fights. He thought about it for a while and realized that there were a lot of bad things he'd done, but none of them were positive. Jiang Wen couldn't help but feel annoyed at Tai Zhao's question. What the fuck was this bullshit question? But he had to answer it, or it wouldn't be truth or dare anymore. Only Jiang Wen himself would know if it was the truth or not. Jiang Wen organized his words and remembered some adventure movies he'd seen before. The bravest thing I've ever done is fighting sharks. Oh, I love fighting sharks the most. Yao Yao likes brave people too. Yushu clapped her hands and cheered. Meng Yao glared at Yushu, but didn't say anything. Jiang Wen was overjoyed at Yushu's words. Meng Yao liked brave people? It seemed like Tai Zhao's question was right. It seemed like he'd have to do his best then. Thus, he said, I was once at a beach. I was swimming when I suddenly heard screams and cries for help not far behind me. As soon as I turned around, I saw a big shark swimming toward me. At this time, I didn't think of running away, but I wanted to save these tourists from danger. So I quickly swam toward the shark. The shark saw me and thought that I was coming to die. It was very happy and wanted to swim over to eat me. How could it know that it was actually itself that was going to die? Wow, Jiang Wen, bro, you're so brave. Yushu exclaimed. It's all right. Jiang Wen got even more excited after hearing Yushu's praise. He started making up stories with the help of the alcohol. I punched the shark in the mouth and broke all its teeth. That shark lost its teeth and became a toothless tiger. It couldn't eat me anymore, so it was stunned. Then it turned around and tried to run. And how could I let it get away? Trying to run after scaring people? How could it be that easy? So I grabbed the shark's tail and swung it around, and it fell on the beach with a loud bang, getting a concussion. Shit. Yushu's eyes widened in disbelief. Jiang Wen, bro, you're so strong. I heard that shark teeth are the toughest animal teeth in the world, and you can even break them. You're so strong. Jiang Wen paused. How would he know how strong a shark's teeth were? He'd only seen sharks in the aquarium when they were alive. He'd never touched a real one before. He was just making up stories to show off his bravery. He didn't think too much about it. But now that the words had been said, there was no room for regret. He had to bite the bullet and said, It's all right. It's not very powerful. Oh, Jiang Wen, bro, I have a shark tooth keychain here. Can you show me how to break it? Yushu took out a keychain and put it on the table. This was the shark that Lin killed last time, and Yushu took one of its teeth and made it into a keychain out of boredom. Wah! Jiang Wen's eyes widened, and his face almost cramped. He didn't think that Yushu would really take out a tooth for him to break. Was this a joke? Shark teeth were the toughest teeth in the world, and he wouldn't even be able to break a normal tooth. Chapter 630. Buy one free 1-inch ha. That shark's teeth weren't very sturdy. Jiang Wen said with a laugh. Not very sturdy? What do you mean? Yushu blinked confusedly. Meng Yao couldn't help but want to laugh. Her best friend looked like an idiot, but unknowingly, she could twist other people's words around and mess with them. That shark might have had fake teeth. That's why it wasn't sturdy. Tai Zhao quickly helped Jiang Wen out of the predicament. Fake teeth? Sharks go to dentists? Yushu said, surprised. There's a clinic in the sea. Jiang Wen was pissed. Was there something wrong with this Tai Zhao? Even if he was drunk, he shouldn't be talking nonsense. Sharks have fake teeth? Did he think it was a human? No, don't listen to him. Jiang Wen said quickly. The shark I hit was an old one. Its teeth were loose, so it couldn't take a hit. Oh, it's an old shark. Yushu nodded. Jiang Wen bro, you're amazing. You can even tell that it's an old shark. That's true. All right, let's not talk about this. Let's move on to the next question. Jiang Wen waved his hand. I'll invite you to my house one day. I still have a shark skin. Oh, all right. I've never seen an old shark skin before. I'll have to get someone to appraise it. Yushu nodded. Sharks are my favorite thing to do. Jiang Wen almost scolded himself for being an idiot. Why did he bring up shark skin for no reason? What if Yushu went to see it? Where would he get it for her? Shark skin was easy to find, as he could just buy one from the market, but old shark skin was hard to find. What if Yushu found out that it wasn't an old shark? Wouldn't he be slapping himself in the face? All right, we'll talk about it another day. Jiang Wen could only force himself to agree. He turned to Yuqian. Yuqian bro, it's my turn to ask. Okay, go ahead. Chen Yuqian looked at Jiang Wen, making a fool out of himself. He felt that it was funny. His sister was really a clown. She could even squeeze someone to death with her words. Who is the most important person to you? And Jiang Wen wanted to ask some tricky questions, but remembered that Tai Zhao said that the first round would be some normal questions. It wouldn't be good if he asked some tricky questions, so he decided to ask a normal one. As far as he was concerned, the most important person to Yutian was naturally Lingshan. For me, the most important person is none other than my instructor during my special training. Chen Yuqian looked at Lin Yi with respect, but Lin Yi didn't even look at him. Yuqian was disappointed, but he continued. He changed my life, gave me dreams, gave me goals, and made me a great soldier. If possible, I want to be his student forever. Yuqian's words confused Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao. Yuqian had changed a lot these few years, but they didn't know who his instructor was. They didn't think much of it. Whether or not he was still pursuing Lingshan had nothing to do with Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao. Yushu, on the other hand, looked at her brother in shock. She didn't expect her brother, who was obsessed with Lingshan, to say something like this. The most important person to him was actually his instructor. From the looks of it, my brother has really matured a lot, and he also has a new life ideal and goal. But who is his instructor? Was he really that good? Was he as good as Shield Bro? All right, Shu, it's my turn to ask you. Yuqian didn't wait for Jiang Wen to say anything. He asked Yushu directly, who do you think is better, me or your Shield Bro? Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao, of course, knew who Shield Bro was. They thought that Yuqian was angry when he asked this question. Otherwise, he wouldn't ask this question. If Yushu didn't answer well, Yuqian and Lin Yi would probably have a conflict, wouldn't they? Jiang Wen was gloating. He had a good relationship with Lin Yi on the surface, but that was only because Lin Yi was always by Meng Yao's side, giving him information. In fact, Jiang Wen hated Lin Yi a lot. He was messed with by Lin Yi twice in this room of Starlight Hotel. How could Jiang Wen forget that humiliation? If Yuqian could beat up Lin Yi for him, Jiang Wen would be very happy. Yuqian was Yushu's brother. Even if he beat up Lin he wouldn't dare to fight back because of Meng Yao, right? Haha. Then this beating would be for nothing. Lin, he was really unlucky. But it all depended on Yushu's answer. So, Jiang Wen waited for Yutian to finish his question and stared at Yushu, waiting for her answer. Oh, I think Shield Bro's a little stronger, right? Yushu wasn't expecting a question like that. Was he still holding a grudge against her for that phone call? But seeing that her brother wasn't showing any hostility towards Lin Yi, Yushu didn't care anymore. Haha, all right, Shu, it's your turn to ask Meng Yao. Yutian smiled and didn't say anything else. Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao's eyes widened. What the hell was going on? When did Qin Yutian's temper become so good? Then I'll ask. Yushu nodded and looked at Meng Yao. Yao Yao, I'll be the second wife, and you'll be the main wife. Won't you bully me? I don't want to be bullied. Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of question was that? Be a concubine? Did Yushu really take it seriously? Yutian was taken aback as well. His sister's way of thinking was really weird. She wanted to be a concubine? Jiang Wen, on the other hand, almost felt his heart explode after hearing Yushu's words. Yushu wasn't bad-looking, and she had a great body, but it'd be a disaster if he married her. He knew Yushu's personality very well. She liked Meng Yao, and if he married Meng Yao, how was he going to live with this buy-one-get-one free system? Those who didn't know Yushu's personality would think that it was a great deal, but those who knew Yushu's personality would know that she was bringing a troublemaker home. He didn't want to live in the shadow of being messed with every day. In this short dinner, Yushu had messed with him a few times. If he brought her home, how could he live? Chapter 631. It's a tragedy to take a risk. Oh, then it's settled. I'll be a small wife from now on. Yushu said happily. Ahem, Yutian bro, I think there's something wrong with Shu's way of thinking. Jiang Wen's heart was about to explode. This was unacceptable. It was a man's dream to have a mistress, but it didn't matter what type of mistress they were. If he married Yushu as well, wouldn't he be screwed to death? Was he going to live or not? Kids always like to mess around. Yutian didn't think much of it. He thought that his sister was joking. After all, it sounded ridiculous. His sister's way of thinking had always been different from others. It was possible that she was lying to Jiang Wen. This doesn't seem like fooling around. Jiang Wen said earnestly, Yutian bro, you have to guide your sister properly. This is a new era. How can there still be mistresses? This won't do. You have to educate her properly. But Yutian didn't say anything when Yushu spoke up first. This is between me and Yao Yao sis. What does it have to do with you? Ga. Jiang Wen didn't know what to say. Yeah, this was someone else's business. Wasn't he being a busybody? If he confessed to Meng Yao and Meng Yao accepted him, then it would have nothing to do with him. But he hadn't confessed yet, had he? All right, it's Sister Yao Yao's turn to ask a question. Yushu glared at Jiang Wen impatiently. Yao Yao, it's your turn to ask. Meng Yao didn't know what to ask, but after some thought, she still didn't know what to ask. Can I give this authority to Shu? All right, I'll leave it to Shu then. Jiang Wen was in a rush to confess, so there was no reason for him to reject Meng Yao's suggestion. Okay, I love asking questions. Yushu rubbed her hands together, smiling at Tai Zhao. Tai Zhao bro, can I ask a question now? All right, ask away. Tai Zhao nodded as well. He wanted to ask a question that Jiang Wen could confess to. He was in a rush as well. Tai Zhao bro, when did you stop wetting your bed? Yushu asked. What? Tai Zhao's eyes went wide, not expecting a question like this. It was a funny question, but it was also a sharp one. Su Tai Zhao had a secret, and that was that he had been wetting his bed since he was young. Although not many people knew about this secret, those who were close to him knew a thing or two. It was just that they didn't want to lose face and wouldn't mention it in front of him. When Tai Zhao was in kindergarten, he once peed all over the kid who slept in the lower bunk. From then on, Tai Zhao never stayed at a school or anything like that again. Even now, he didn't dare drink too much water at night because he was afraid of wetting the bed. This secret was an eternal pain in his heart. Tai Zhao didn't know how to answer Yushu's sudden question. Truth or dare meant that you had to tell the truth. Of course, You could lie if you wanted to, as long as you didn't get caught. But Tai Zhao didn't dare live. This was a secret, but there were people who knew about it. He even thought that Yushu was asking this question because she knew about it. If he lied, Yushu would see through him, and that'd be even more embarrassing. Tai Zhao hated it, but there was nothing he could do about it. The reason was simple. Yushu was that kind of person. Even Jiang Wen was being tortured by her. What was he? Tai Zhao didn't want to tell the truth. He couldn't tell her that he was still wetting his bed, could he? That'd be too embarrassing. But if he didn't say it, he'd have to choose dare or drink as punishment. Tai Zhao had drunk quite a bit already, and it'd be bad if he drank anymore. He thought about it and decided to choose dare. I refuse to answer. I choose dare. Oh, that's great. Finally, there's a dare. Yushu clapped her hands in praise. Tai Zhao was even more certain that Yushu was doing this on purpose. She wanted to see if he would take the risk, so she asked this tricky question. In fact, Yushu was just asking randomly. Yuqian knew a bit about Tai Zhao's secret, but he wouldn't tell his sister about it. Yushu's question was pure luck. Tai Zhao bro, I order you to drink 2 bottles of red wine, Yushu said after some thought. What? Tai Zhao almost jumped out of his chair. 2 bottles of red wine? What kind of joke was this? He didn't choose to drink as punishment because he didn't want to drink anymore, but Yushu was ordering him to drink 2 bottles of red wine. Was she messing with him? But he couldn't go back on his decision since he chose dare. Yushu's request wasn't too much, and it was normal. He couldn't reject it. Tai Zhao was hesitating, and Ming Yao couldn't help but laugh. This Yushu really knew how to play with people. Wasn't she purposely making Tai Zhao regret? Tai Zhao bro, is 2 bottles too little? Why don't you drink 4? Yushu looked at Tai Zhao innocently, as if she wasn't the one who did this. What kind of joke was this? 4 bottles? Tai Zhao was glad that Yushu wanted him to drink 2 bottles. If he drank 4, he'd be dead. All right, hurry up and drink. We'll continue after that. Jiang Wen's mind was on the confession, so he didn't really care if Tai Zhao drank or not. He just wanted the game to continue. Since Jiang Wen said so, Tai Zhao had no choice but to drink 2 bottles of red wine. All right, let's continue. It's my turn to ask a question. Bro, I want to ask you this. Do you have someone in your heart? Of course. Jiang Wen saw that Tai Zhao was finally getting to the main point, and he started talking excitedly. My sweetheart is my childhood sweetheart, Yao Yao. I've been secretly in love with her since I was young, hoping that she'd be my girlfriend when I grow up, and we'll get married and have kids. Oh, then do you want to have sex with Yao Yao, sis? Yushu interrupted suddenly. Of course. Jiang Wen blurted out without thinking, but felt that something wasn't right. What? Chapter 632. Sorry, Mingyao frowned and glared at Jiang Wen in disgust. She turned to Yushu. Shu, don't use those vulgar words. Oh, I'm just making sure. Yushu stuck her tongue out. Yao Yao, don't misunderstand. Jiang Wen found it hard to explain. If he denied it and said that he didn't want to do it with her, wouldn't that mean that he didn't like her? How was he supposed to confess then? But it wasn't right to say that he wanted to. Jiang Wen was about to go crazy from anger. This Yushu was a complete mess. Thank goodness he'd listed her as an unwelcome guest from the very beginning. Otherwise, wouldn't his life be shortened if he brought her home? He was pissed to death every day. I'm sorry, Jiang Wen bro, I don't want to do it with you. Yushu said regretfully. What does that have to do with you? Jiang Wen thought. It had nothing to do with her. Even if she wanted to do it with him, he wouldn't dare to do it. But since Yushu changed the topic, it was exactly what Jiang Wen wanted. He could use another topic to ease the awkwardness. Of course it has something to do with me. Yushu nodded seriously. Yao Yao is the main wife, and I'm the second wife. If you want to do it with her, you'll have to do it with the second wife, right? But I don't like you. I won't do it with you. Jiang Wen was speechless. He wanted to yell at her, but he didn't dare to. Yuqian frowned as well. He didn't expect his sister to be so bold. It seemed like he had to find a chance to understand his sister's current life. Shu, don't talk nonsense. Ming Yao stopped her. You're a girl. Don't keep saying that word. It's not good. All right. Yao Yao, I won't say anymore. Yushu closed her mouth after saying that. Jiang Wen didn't have any temper at all. He smiled dryly and gave Tai Zhao a look, telling him to continue confessing to Meng Yao in the next round. Yushu ruined it this round, and it was impossible to continue. Brother Yuqian, it's my turn to ask you. Jiang Wen wanted to end this round as soon as possible so that Tai Zhao could continue asking him questions. That instructor you're talking about, who is he? I can't say. It's confidential. Yuqian knew that he wasn't the star of the show today. He came here because Lingshan rejected him, and he had nowhere else to go. He didn't expect to see Lin Yi here. This was his biggest reward tonight. Although Lin Yi didn't seem to want to talk about the past, it wasn't important. As long as he found Lin Yi's people, he would have more chances to interact with them in the future. Chen Yutian believed that Lin Yi, one of his best students, wouldn't leave him alone. So Yuqian wasn't interested in any games. The only reason he stayed here was to sit face-to-face with Lin Yi. What a thrilling and exciting thing this was. The instructor who used to be unreachable could actually sit at the same table as him today. How glorious was this? If his former teammates knew about this, they'd probably die from jealousy. Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao froze at Yutian's words. They thought that it was just a normal topic, and Yutian would just say a few words. They didn't expect him to keep it a secret. Was there something special about this instructor's identity? But even if it was special, it had nothing to do with Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao. They didn't dare to be interested. Jiang Wen was getting impatient, but he continued. Then, Yuqian bro, do you want to drink as a penalty or dare? I'll drink as a penalty. Yuqian's alcohol tolerance was quite good, especially after being stationed at the border for the past few years. It was hard to get through the cold winter nights without alcohol, so his alcohol tolerance was much better than before. Yuqian opened a bottle of red wine and drank it without blinking. He turned to Yushu and asked, Shu, do you have a boyfriend? Shin Yuqian felt that his sister was getting more and more open-minded. He wanted to test her to see if she had a boyfriend. Oh, I want one too, but Yao Yao's sis isn't good enough. She doesn't have a boyfriend, and I can't find one either, Yushu said angrily. No, Yuqian froze. Still, this was good news. It was just that her sister's way of thinking was a little weird. Was she really that close with Meng Yao? Why did she have to be a mistress? No. Yushu shook her head. All right, it's my turn to ask. Yao Yao sis, when are you going to find a boyfriend? I don't know. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Don't keep asking weird questions. This is truth or dare. Of course I have to ask weird questions. Yushu didn't care. Man, I still want to do 3P. If you don't find a boyfriend, when will it happen? Not only Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao, but Yutian's eyes widened as well. He didn't expect Yushu to say something like this. 3P. Jiang Wen's face twitched. It felt good to do 3P, but he didn't have the guts to do it with Yushu. He didn't want to die yet. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was used to it. He sat there expressionlessly. Shu, didn't I tell you not to say it? Why are you using such vulgar words? Meng Yao was getting angry. Yao Yao sis, I didn't say that. I said 3P, not asterisk asterisk. Yushu argued. It's the same. Don't say it again. Meng Yao humph. Fine, I'll tell you when I get home. Yushu whispered. Not even when you get home. Meng Yao glared at her. She didn't want to continue this topic. All right, you can continue asking Tai Zhao bro questions. Tai Zhao's heart skipped a beat. Yushu was still asking questions? No way. But before he could say anything, Yushu started the second round of questions. Tai Zhao bro, do you still wet your bed? Yushu wasn't stupid. Tai Zhao's rejection of dare made her feel that something was wrong. She thought that Tai Zhao must have wet his bed, so she decided to ask a similar question. You can't do that. I've asked this question before. Tai Zhao jumped up. Chapter 633. Chapter 633. The same question. Yutian and Jiang Wen didn't say anything because they knew about Tai Zhao's problem. They just didn't say it out loud. But Jiang Wen felt that Yushu's question was a bit sharper. This girl was really hard to deal with. Yuqian could only smile bitterly. He didn't know if his sister was really just a coincidence or if she knew something beforehand. This question is different from the previous one. The previous question was, how old did you stop wetting your bed? The question now is, do you still wet your bed? Is it the same? It's obviously not the same, isn't it? Yushu explained with her fingers. Isn't it the same? Taizao felt a headache coming on. Taizao, bro, you said it yourself. It's not the same, not the same. You can answer now. Yushu said. Taizao didn't think that he'd fall into Yushu's trap again. He smiled bitterly, not daring to choose dare this time. He picked up a bottle of red wine. I'll drink this as punishment. I refused to answer. After finishing the wine, Taizao took a few deep breaths and recovered a bit. Seeing that Jiang Wen was getting impatient, he quickly asked, And bro, it's my turn now. I want to ask you, what does your ideal girlfriend look like? Ideal girlfriend. Jiang Wen saw that it was time for him to show off again. He couldn't fall for Yushu's tricks again. He couldn't just answer her sneaky questions like that. He must finish his confession in one breath. My ideal girlfriend, she must have beautiful long hair. Height must be about 165 meters tall, slightly thin, pure and beautiful. And just like you and Yao Yao. All right, Jiang Wen bro, it's your turn to ask my bro. I've already prepared a new question for Yao Yao. Hurry up. Yushu interrupted Jiang Wen before he could say anything. Wait, I'm not done yet. Jiang Wen was panicking. Yushu again? Why was she so annoying? You're done? Taizao bro asked you what your ideal girlfriend looks like, and you've already answered, just like Yao Yao sis. Yushu said, See, you're done. I'm not done yet. I haven't explained the rest yet. Jiang Wen was pissed. Do you still need to explain? Then hurry up and explain. Yushu was a little impatient and said dully, Where was I? Jiang Wen asked, forgetting his lines after being interrupted by Yushu. You said that you want to find a girlfriend, just like Yao Yao sis. Yushu said, All right, Jiang Wen bro, I hope you can find a girlfriend like Yao Yao sis. Do you have anything else to say? Why? Jiang Wen froze. Find a similar one? I'm looking for Ming Yao. What's the point of looking for someone like her? So he hurriedly said, I want to find Yao Yao. That won't do. Yao Yao already has someone she likes, and I don't like you. Yushu waved her hand. All right, let's move on to the next round. Jiang Wen was so pissed off that his nose was crooked. Was this Yushu sent by the heavens to go against him? Although he didn't finish his sentence, Jiang Wen couldn't continue with Yushu's interference. All right, let's move on to the next round. Yuqian bro, do you still want to marry Ling Shan? I'm not thinking about it anymore. Haha, I feel like the gap is getting bigger and bigger, and the hope is getting smaller and smaller. Yuqian didn't avoid this question. He shook his head and said faintly. Yuqian finished answering this question, and now it was Yuqian's turn to ask Yushu. Yuqian thought about what he should ask his sister. He had asked everything he needed to ask. His sister didn't have a boyfriend yet, so she was probably still pretending to get a room. She was still as dumb as before. Right, when you were young, you buried a metal box with Yao Yao in the yard. What's the secret in it? Yuqian asked his sister curiously, but she blushed and refused to answer. Meng Yao also avoided answering this question on purpose. After a period of time, Yuqian was very curious about the secret in the box, but he couldn't get an answer. After that, he joined a special training team and grew up, becoming an armed police soldier stationed at the border. That box, it's actually nothing much. It's just a vow between me and Yao Yao sis. Yushu didn't feel embarrassed anymore. After all these years, Yushu's personality had formed. She was always this kind of dumb person. Great intelligence looks dumb, and she would never pay for it. Vow? What vow? Yuqian asked. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, had his eyes wide open, waiting for Yushu's answer. He wasn't interested in other people's business, but Yushu said that it involved Ming Yao's vow. He was very interested in anything related to Ming Yao. Our vow was that Yao Yao sis and I will marry the same man. Yao Yao sis will be the big wife, and I will be the small wife. Yushu said proudly. Shu, don't talk nonsense. Ming Yao blushed. What kind of vow was this? She didn't know why she agreed to it in the first place. She thought that she didn't want to be separated from Shu in the future, and that they could be together forever. But now that she grew up, she realized how childish she was back then. Was such a thing really possible? Could Shu really marry the same man as her? Even if she agreed, wouldn't it scare her future boyfriend? Ming Yao didn't know what to ask, but an image appeared in her mind. Lin, why did she think of him? It'd be quite a good match if Shu married him. He was probably the only one who could handle Yushu's antics. They'd been living under the same roof for so long, and he didn't seem to be sick of Yushu at all. Yuqian didn't expect his sister to make such a vow at such a young age. Could it be that what she said about the big wife and small wife was true? Was she really going to marry the same man as Meng Yao? Isn't this a little too inconceivable? This wasn't in line with House Chen's interests. How could the daughter of House Chen be someone's small wife? How could Grandpa agree? Of course, if that man was very powerful and was the target of competition from the noble houses, then it was possible. But this kind of person was too rare. Even if there was one, would he be able to stand his sister? If he didn't enjoy the tenderness of a small wife, he would be tricked to death by the small wife. Chapter 634. Chapter 634. Kiss Shield Bro Yutian was confused about Lin Yi's sudden appearance as Meng Yao and Yushu's follower. He didn't know why. Was it someone else's arrangement? Someone purposely arranged for them to be together? Was it from Meng Yao or Yushu? From a personal point of view, Yuqian naturally hoped that his instructor and his sister could be together. That way, not only could he get closer to Lin Yi, but it would also benefit House Chen. Lin Yi was already at the peak of the middle phase of the Golden Class, and he was about to break through to the late phase of the Golden Class. Now, he was probably at the late phase of the Golden Class. At least, Yuqian couldn't see through Lin Yi's true strength. Lin Yi's strength was like a phoenix's feather among the young generation of the noble houses. It wasn't impossible for his sister to marry him. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, had a bigger headache. He didn't expect Yushu and Meng Yao to agree to marry the same man when they were young. Wasn't this making things difficult for him? It seemed like he had to think of a way to expose Yushu and Meng Yao. This was something he had to do. Otherwise, pursuing Meng Yao would become an impossible mission. Let Yushu be a small wife? Jiang Wen didn't dare to. First, he couldn't take it. He only had one heart. Even if he was the boss of an organ trafficking organization, if his heart exploded, he wouldn't be able to find a replacement. Even if he could find one, it would be long dead. Second, with Yushu's background and identity, he wouldn't be able to take it. House Chen aside, even Yuqian wouldn't agree. Yushu's man in the future would either be a noble house's heir or a master. All right, it's my turn. Yushu didn't care what the others were thinking. She quickly said to Meng Yao, Yao Yao sis, it's finally my turn to ask you. I'm going to ask. Who was your first kiss? La 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 ha ha. Yushu couldn't help but laugh mischievously after asking the question. First kiss. Meng Yao frowned. She suddenly thought of Lin Yi. One look at Yushu's sneaky smile, and Meng Yao knew that Yushu was up to no good. Meng Yao didn't want to answer, but she didn't want to drink either. She had drunk quite a lot earlier, and her head was still a little dizzy. I refused to answer. I choose dare. Okay, Yao Yao. You're the second one to choose dare. I'm going to start. Yushu said excitedly. Yao Yao, I order you to kiss Shield Bro. Exclamation point. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. I'm not going. Go ahead. You've already given your first kiss to Shield Bro anyway. Another one won't be a big deal. Yushu said matter-of-factly. Shoo. Meng Yao was pissed as she glared at Yushu. Are you done? You've gone too far. Oh, I don't think it's anything. Shield Bro kissed me too. I think it's normal. Yushu said. Jiang Wen, who was sitting on the opposite side, frowned. Meng Yao's first kiss was Lin Yi. Was it real? But looking at Meng Yao's expression, she seemed to have admitted it. She didn't refute and only asked Shu if she was done. She even said that Shu was going too far. Thinking back to Yushu's question, asking who Meng Yao's first kiss was, Meng Yao had rejected the question instead of saying no. This meant that Meng Yao must have had her first kiss before, and she just didn't want to answer the question. Otherwise, she would have just said no. How straightforward would that be? Could it be that Meng Yao and Lin Yi really had something going on? Jiang Wen's face turned ugly. Then, he heard Yushu say that her first kiss was with Lin Yi as well. Could it be that the three of them lived under the same roof? Did something really happen? Jiang Wen wanted to flip the table. He had reached a certain level of anger at this point. This Lin Yi stole what he was supposed to do and played him like a monkey. He said that he was giving him information, but the truth was that he was stealing from the young miss in the house. Jiang Wen had the urge to kill Lin Yi. Chen Yutian was surprised as well. Lin Yi kissed his sister? He even kissed Meng Yao? What was the relationship between the three of them? Was Lin Yi still a follower? Although Yutian was confused, he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It was impossible for Peng Zhan to not know that Lin Yi was by Meng Yao's side. Since Peng Zhan didn't say anything, could there be something else going on? In fact, if his sister could marry Lin Yi, Chen Yutian wouldn't object. Instead, he would be happy. This was what he wanted. But now, Meng Yao was added into the mix. As long as his sister was willing, Chen Yutian wouldn't say anything. All right, Shu, stop joking. Lin Yi saw that Meng Yao was about to go berserk, and so he spoke up to help her out. This game is for you guys to play. I'm just a bystander, so Dare has nothing to do with me. Why don't you give Yao Yao a different type of adventure? All right, let's call it a day. Jiang Wen couldn't hold it in anymore. He wanted to kill Lin Yi right now, but he didn't show it because of Chen Yutian and Tai Zhao. Still, he wouldn't eat at the same table with Lin Yi anymore. With that, Jiang Wen stood up and left the room without looking back. Tai Zhao glanced at Chen Yutian, but didn't say anything. He followed Jiang Wen out. Chen Yutian sneered. The friendship between the four young masters of Songshan would be gone after today's dinner. What was left was Jiang Wen and Tai Zhao's personal friendship. Chen Yutian still had things to do at night. He wanted to go back to the villa with Yushu and ask about Lin Yi, but he was afraid that Lin Yi would be unhappy. He thought about it and decided to let nature take its course. Since Lin Yi had become his sister's and Yao Yao's follower, there was no rush. At the entrance of the hotel, Chen Yutian parted ways with Yushu and Meng Yao. Before he left, he looked at Lin Yi with respect, but Lin Yi didn't even look at him. Instead, he acted like a follower, driving Meng Yao's Audi S5 over and waiting for them to get in. Chen Yutian had no choice. He waved at Yushu and left after telling her to take care of herself. He wanted to remind Lin Yi to be careful of Jiang Wen. Jiang Wen wasn't a generous person, and today's events made him lose face. He would definitely take revenge. But thinking about Lin Yi's strength and skills, his reminder was unnecessary. Chen Yutian shook his head and left. Chapter 635. Lingshan caught. Shu, did you drink too much today? You went a little overboard with your words. Meng Yao said to Yushu. I don't like Jiang Wen, but your brother was there too. It's not good if we end up breaking up on bad terms. Oh, I didn't drink too much. Yushu shook her head. I was just thinking that Yao Yao was a little unhappy today, so I wanted to cheer you up a little. Meng Yao froze. She didn't think that Yushu's prank today was just to make her happy. She couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth in her heart. She hugged Yushu, feeling touched. Shu, thank you. Oh, it's nothing. Yushu shook her head. Yao Yao was unhappy, so of course I want to cheer you up. And Shu, you're so good to me. Meng Yao was really touched. Then you have to let me be your small wife from now on. Yushu said. Ha, sure, we'll be together forever, good sisters forever. Meng Yao nodded. This was the first time she answered Yushu's retarded question. Lin Yi was driving in the front, as if he didn't hear the conversation between the sisters. In fact, Lin Yi did hear it, but he didn't know what to say. He didn't know how to persuade the sisters. When they got back to the villa, Meng Yao and Yushu held hands and went upstairs to talk, leaving Lin Yi alone at the bottom of the stairs. After a meeting, Lingshan decided to go undercover and infiltrate the criminal organization, wiping them out in one fell swoop. Otherwise, it wouldn't help the case at all if they only captured some small fries. This method of capturing people was called a UFO. A UFO, as the name suggested, was an unidentified flying object. Even if they captured the person, they wouldn't know what was behind them, just like how humans didn't know about UFOs. Lingshan, on the other hand, decided to take the risk herself. She was the captain, after all, and this case was her responsibility. If she didn't go, someone else would, and she, as the captain, wouldn't feel at ease if someone else went. After all, Lingshan was the strongest person in the team, and she was the only one who could lessen the danger to the greatest extent and make this plan a success. Many of the captains didn't want Ling Shan to take the risk, but since Ling Shan had made her decision, there was nothing they could do. They could only cover for her. And so, Ling Shan disguised herself as a village woman in Bing Village, looking like a village woman rushing through the night. Biaozi, there's a village woman walking at night. Should we take action? Behind a haystack, two burly men were talking in a low voice. I think it's okay. The higher-ups have given us a task. We must bring someone back today. After waiting for so long, a person finally came. I think it's her. The macho man named Biaozi nodded. Brother Ma, wait for her to come, and then we'll take action. Brother Ma nodded. If we don't fight, how can we afford to drink and play with women? Damn, it's her. Ling Shan had already sensed that something was wrong. The professional sensitivity of the captain and the sharp insight of a golden class master had already let her know that there were two enemies hiding not far away. But Ling Shan's purpose this time was to be captured by these people, and then sneak into their headquarters, find their nest, and wipe out their organization. Ling Shan wanted to pretend to be a person who was captured and sent to the headquarters of the criminal organization. Then, before the kidney was cut, she would go on a rampage and wipe out the entire nest. Do it. Brother Ma waved his hand and said to Biaozi. Suddenly, two men jumped out from behind the haystack, one on the left and one on the right, holding Ling Shan down. Oh, what are you doing? Help! Ling Shan screamed. Brother Ma and Biaozi looked at each other and smiled. In this wilderness, even if they used a megaphone, no one would be able to hear them. Although they were operating in Bing Village, they didn't dare to capture people in a crowded place. If the villagers were alarmed, how could the two of them fight against a large group of people? So, for the sake of safety, they chose a less populated path in the field. Although it was quiet here, there was a disadvantage. There were almost no people at night, unless there were people rushing at night. The two of them just wanted to try their luck here in the first half of the night to see if they could wait for people to pass by. If it didn't work, they would wait for the second half of the night to break into the houses to capture people. Although it was more dangerous, at least it would be the second half of the night, and it wouldn't alarm most people. But they didn't expect that after waiting for a few hours, a village woman walking alone at night came. This was a rare opportunity. They didn't care whether Ling Shan would call for help or not. They directly punched Ling Shan's neck and knocked her out. In fact, Ling Shan didn't faint. She was just pretending to faint. If a golden class master could be knocked out so easily, then the golden class master would be too weak. Ling Shan was dragged into a van by the two men, and the van started up quickly, heading towards the city. After about half an hour, Ling Shan was sent to another abandoned factory in the outskirts of the city. They still didn't enter the city, but this place was completely different from the last one. Ling Shan knew that this was just a temporary transfer station. It wasn't the headquarters of the criminal organization. She was just temporarily kept here. The two men were only in charge of capturing people. There should be another group of people in charge of sending her to the surgery place. That should be their headquarters. In the abandoned factory, Ling Shan was thrown into a basement, and the two men happily went to collect the money. The one in charge of watching over her was a man with a gloomy face. He had an aquiline nose and deep eye sockets. He looked like a heavy smoker. The man with the aquiline nose looked at Ling Shan carefully. He was stunned. He didn't think that a village woman could be so beautiful. It was completely unexpected. Plus, she didn't look old. She shouldn't be married yet. The man with the aquiline nose smacked his lips. He was a little envious, but he still dialed a number after some hesitation. Tattooed bro, we caught a fat sheep. The man with the aquiline nose said softly, afraid that he would wake Ling Shan up. But he didn't know that Ling Shan was awake the whole time. Chapter 636. You brought her here? Of course, tattooed bro. I've already sent them to look for a new target. The man with the aquiline nose said carefully. In fact, he knew very well that the two guys went to drink after taking the money. Finding one target in one night was already good enough. How could they go back to look for a second one? So he quickly said, right, tattooed bro. The fat sheep is a girl, very pretty. Maybe she's even a virgin. You can enjoy her first. Oh, really? I got it. The tattooed guy didn't show anything on his face, only saying faintly. The man with the aquiline nose didn't know that the tattooed guy had a boss above him. He thought that the tattooed guy was the boss, so he offered Ling Shan to him. After hanging up, the tattooed guy quickly walked to Jiang Wen's side. When bro, the people down there caught a girl, I heard she's not bad. Maybe she's still a virgin. Do you think you should owe? Jiang Wen raised his eyebrows. He was extremely pissed off right now, and other than venting his anger, he couldn't find a way to vent it out. When he heard that the people down there had caught a girl, he was immediately interested. Let me see her. Although the people down there weren't that high up in the hierarchy, they still received quite a lot of money after doing their jobs. They were allowed to go to high-class nightclubs, and it wasn't like they hadn't seen pretty girls before. If they were called pretty girls, and they even dared to call Jiang Wen, then they must be pretty girls. Jiang Wen was just worried that he didn't have a place to vent his anger, and now someone had delivered themselves to his doorstep. Jiang Wen was very happy. The tattooed guy sent a car to the aquiline nose guy's transfer station, and very quickly, Ling Shan was brought to the headquarters and locked up in their own prison. She was indeed very pretty. This was the tattooed guy's first impression of Ling Shan. Not only was her face beautiful, but her body was also very hot, with curves in all the right places and curves in all the right places. She must be one of the best. According to the tattooed guy's many years of experience, this girl in front of him should be a virgin. This was in line with one bro's standards for women. But other than that, the tattooed man felt that Ling Shan looked very familiar, as if he had seen her somewhere before, but he couldn't remember where. After locking Ling Shan up, the tattooed guy returned to Jiang Wen's side and said in a low voice, "When bro, I've sent her here. She's indeed a top-quality product, but she looks a little familiar. Where have I seen her before?" He was a cautious man, and he wouldn't let go of any details. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in charge of this place for so long. When Jiang Wen's brother was here, the tattooed man was the person in charge of this place. "Where have I seen it before?" "What do you mean?" Jiang Wen frowned. "Someone you know? I don't think I know him. I have an impression of him, but I don't know where I have seen him before. Even if I know him, he shouldn't be an acquaintance." The tattooed man shook his head. "I'm not local. It's impossible for me to have relatives in Tong Village." "I see." Jiang Wen hesitated. "Turn on the surveillance. I'll take a look myself." "Yes." "When bro." The tattooed guy nodded and turned on the surveillance camera in the dungeon. There was a surveillance camera in Jiang Wen's room, so he could see everything that was happening in the dungeon clearly. Ling Shan didn't wake up after reaching the dungeon. She was still pretending to be unconscious. In fact, she had already sneaked a peek. There were a few surveillance cameras in the dungeon. Whatever she was doing here could be seen by the people outside. So, in order to confuse the enemy, Ling Shan still pretended to be unconscious. This should be the headquarters of the kidney trafficking organization, right? She wondered if Lu Wongli and the others outside received the signal. Not good. The tracking device on Captain Song has lost its signal. Lu Wongli stared at the surveillance screen nervously and exclaimed. Before Ling Shan left, she had brought a signal transmitter with her. In other words, wherever Ling Shan was, the tracking device would be able to see it. This would make it easier for them to destroy the enemy's lair. However, after Ling Shan was brought to the first transfer station, the signal was lost. Could it be that something happened in the middle of this? Lu Wongli's face was filled with nervousness, and so were the others around him. They all stared at the screen nervously. The tattooed man wasn't an idiot. He had been doing this for so long, and nothing had happened. Of course, he had his own methods. He was afraid that the police would send someone to sneak in, so he brought a signal transmitter with him. So, he had already blocked the signal on the car that was used to pick up Ling Shan. It was the same for the entire headquarters. Other than the special wire network phone, there was no signal on the phone. Of course, Jiang Wen's own phone had been transferred through the call forwarding system, so he could still receive the signal. The surveillance screen was turned on, and the focus of the camera was getting closer and closer. Jiang Wen finally saw Ling Shan's face clearly. He couldn't help but curse, "Fuck! What's wrong with bro?" The tattooed man was stunned by Jiang Wen's reaction. He didn't know why Jiang Wen had such a big reaction. When bro, do you know her? Why not? Ling Shan, the captain of Songshan's criminal investigation team. Jiang Wen's eyes widened. Chen Yuqian's target. Why did you bring her here? It can't be. You brought the captain of the criminal investigation team here? The tattooed man was dumbfounded. He didn't know why this person looked so familiar. So, she was the captain of the criminal investigation team. This was a character that often appeared on TV. He should have seen her before, but he didn't pay much attention to her since she took over Huaijuan's position not long ago. However, this matter was getting out of hand. It wasn't going to end well. He didn't know how Bro would treat him. He wouldn't kill him, would he? The tattooed man was shocked at the thought. He had experienced Jiang Wen's cruelty before. Although Jiang Wen looked gentle, the tattooed man knew that he was a ruthless person. Jiang Wen's brother used to buy a kidney, and Jiang Wen used to rob him. To deal with his love rival, he would cut off one of his kidneys. How could a normal person do something like this? The tattooed man was shocked. Jiang Wen wouldn't kill him to vent his anger, would he? Jiang Wen was in a bad mood today. He wanted to please him by getting a pretty girl for him to play with, but he didn't expect that he would end up in trouble. He brought the captain of the criminal investigation team here. Wasn't he looking for death? Chapter 637. Give them a warning. Jiang Wen waved his hand, a faint smile on his face. So what if they want to? Bro, are you saying that you want to have a taste of her? The tattooed guy thought that Bro was quite brave, daring to touch a police beauty. Of course not. Jiang Wen said, she knows me. I don't want to die yet. Plus, she's Chen Yutian's woman. Why would I touch her? Then what about you Bro? The tattooed guy was confused. Haven't the police been keeping an eye on us? That's good. Since they're keeping an eye on us, we'll teach them a lesson and let them know that it's better to turn a blind eye to some things. Jiang Wen smiled coldly. What do you think the police will do if the captain of the criminal investigation department loses a kidney? That would be so embarrassing. The tattooed guy laughed. That's right. I want to teach the police a lesson, a warning at the same time. Let them know that they can't meddle in everything, that it's better for them to live in peace. Otherwise, the consequences will be dire. Jiang Wen said, put some drugs in the prison and knock her out. Oh, the tattooed guy was surprised. Knock her out? From what I know, this Ling Shan is a golden class master. None of us are her match yet. Jiang Wen said, this girl must be trying to sneak into the headquarters. That's why she's been hiding her strength. Let's fulfill her wish and let her hide until she loses a kidney. Okay, I understand. The tattooed guy nodded quickly, thinking that Jiang Wen was indeed cruel. He was willing to cut off a kidney for such a beautiful girl. Plus, this girl's identity wasn't simple at all. Wait, tell the people in the outskirts to evacuate. Tomorrow, we'll use the third stronghold. We'll give up on this one. Jiang Wen called out to the tattooed guy who was about to leave. Ling Shan should have a signal transmitter on her. That stronghold should be exposed already. Yes. The tattooed guy replied and left. Jiang Wen shook his head slightly as he watched the tattooed man leave. Yuqian bro, I'm really sorry. It's your fault for choosing such a troublesome girl. If she had obediently followed you back to the Chun family, how could she have lost a kidney? But Ling Shan was just a small interlude. He didn't care at all. Cutting out Ling Shan's kidney would only bring two results. One was for the police to give up, and the other was for them to be furious. However, so what if he flew into a rage out of humiliation? They still couldn't find where their headquarters was, and Ling Shan had reached the point where she couldn't take it anymore. That was why she decided to pretend to be captured and sneak into the headquarters. Jiang Wen didn't mind at all. He was a ruthless man, and he didn't care about things like that. What troubled Jiang Wen now was Lin Yi's problem. Jiang Wen was very annoyed. Lin Yi, this bastard. How dare he get involved with Meng Yao and Yushu? Jiang Wen didn't think that the relationship between Lin Yi and Meng Yao could be that pure. They even kissed. What else couldn't they do? Meng Yao was his wife, and he would never allow Meng Yao and Lin Yi to be together. Jiang Wen's feelings for Meng Yao came from the bottom of his heart. It was almost perverted. This was his dream since he was young, and that was to marry Meng Yao. Jiang Wen had played with many women these years, and there were beautiful ones, both foreign and domestic, but he still couldn't forget about Meng Yao. This was a stubbornness in his character. Even if Meng Yao and Lin he had already done something, he would still bring Meng Yao home. Even if he had to put her there every day, he would make her his. Of course, if Meng Yao was still a virgin, Jiang Wen would let bygones be bygones. Linny, how do you want to die? A cold smile appeared on Jiang Wen's lips. This was the smile he had every time he was about to do something bad. Since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for what I'm about to do. Your kidney is mine now. When Ling Shan's signal disappeared, Lu Wangli and the others felt that something was wrong. Without hesitation, they sent people to where Ling Shan's signal disappeared. It was a deserted area, and there was an abandoned factory not far from the empty road. But when Lu Wangli and the others surrounded the factory, they found nothing. There was no one in the factory, but the people inside had left in a hurry, and it wouldn't have been long either. The light bulb was still warm, which meant that it had been lit the whole time. There were also some instant noodle bags and other food waste on the ground, as well as some ragged ropes. Evidently, the enemy had their guard up, but it was precisely because of this that Lu Wangli was even more worried. This meant that the enemy must have seen through Ling Shan's identity and fled in a panic, and the signal transmitter on Ling Shan must have been destroyed as well. With that thought, Lu Wangli started to panic. He hesitated for a while before calling the director, Yang Huaijuan. Director Yang, I'm Lu Wangli from the Criminal Investigation Team. Are you asleep? It was already midnight, and Lu Wangli was afraid that Huaijuan was already asleep. I just slept. What's up? Ever since Huaijuan took the medicine that Lin Yi had given him, his internal injuries had healed. He didn't feel any pain anymore, and he could sleep peacefully without the need for painkillers. He didn't feel any discomfort when he was woken up by the phone. Director Yang, Captain Song seems to be in trouble, Lu Wangli said carefully. Trouble? What happened? Tell me the details. Huaijuan's sleepiness was all gone when he heard that Ling Shan was in trouble. He sat up and asked. It's like this, Captain Song found out the location of the criminal organization, so Lu Wangli told Huaijuan about Ling Shan's undercover work. Who told her to go? Why didn't she ask for permission first? Huaijuan was furious after hearing Lu Wangli's words. It was Captain Song's decision. I thought she'd asked for permission already. Lu Wangli sweated. He was the captain, and it was Ling Shan who reported this to Huaijuan. He couldn't just skip his rank and report to Huaijuan, could he? Chapter 638. Huaijuan washed his face and rushed to the police station. Huaijuan hung up, washed his face, and rushed to the police station, but Huaijuan wouldn't be of much use even if he went. Even if he knew that Ling Shan had lost contact with them at the transit station, it wouldn't change anything. The people at the transit station had already left, and there wouldn't be any valuable clues left. The criminals were cunning, and they didn't leave any openings. Ling Shan was lost just like that. Huaijuan couldn't do anything even if he was worried. All they could do now was wait for the criminals to talk to the police. They obviously knew about Ling Shan's identity already, and yet they still wanted to capture her. Their goal was obvious. They either wanted to show off to the police, or they wanted to use her as a hostage to achieve their goal. But no matter what, he had to wait for the criminals to contact the police first. This song, he's really troublesome. Huaijuan rubbed his sleepy eyes as he sat in his office. He hadn't slept for the whole night, discussing the direction of the case. He was tired, but it was much better than before. Lin Yi's medicine was still effective. In the past, staying up all night would cause him to get sick, and he had to use medicine to suppress it. But now, other than fatigue, he didn't feel any discomfort. Of course, fatigue was a normal reaction. Even a healthy person would feel uncomfortable after a night of no rest. Lin Yi. Huaijuan suddenly thought of Lin Yi. Did Lin Yi have a way? If there was a way to find Ling Shan, then perhaps only Lin Yi could do it. She just didn't know if he would help. Huaijuan smiled bitterly. It seemed like he still had to trouble Lin Yi. After some hesitation, Huaijuan dialed Lin Yi's number. Huaijuan always felt awkward calling Lin Yi that. He still wanted to call Lin Yi Eagle or Captain. He wasn't used to the name. Jun bro, what's up? Lin Yi drove to the hospital to pick up Tang Yin. He received a call from Huaijuan just as he was about to drive off. Song was probably captured by the kidney trafficking organization. Huaijuan didn't bother with pleasantries as he told Huaijuan the reason for the call. Oh, it's normal for a girl like her to be captured. Lin Yi wasn't surprised at all. In fact, he thought that it was normal. He wouldn't have called her yesterday if he knew she was that reckless. She's a little reckless, but young people are all impulsive. Huaijuan smiled bitterly. It's like this. Song received a tip yesterday and found out where the criminals were, and, oh, I know that. I was the one who told her about Bin Village. Lin Yi interrupted Huaijuan's words. Did she go there herself and was caught trying to infiltrate the enemy lines and couldn't get out after that? Huaijuan was surprised. He didn't know that. Huaijuan was a bit surprised. He didn't think that Lin Yi was the one who'd told Lingshan about this. It seemed like they were still in contact and pretty close, too. Lin Yi wouldn't abandon Lingshan then, would he? Very simple logic. Lin Yi smiled. With Lingshan's personality, this wasn't surprising at all. What do you need from me? Can you find her or save her? Huaijuan asked directly. No need for hypocritical pleasantries between Lin Yi and Huaijuan. I'll try. Lin Yi was getting a headache. This Lingshan really knew how to cause trouble. He was going to be busy. Lin Yi didn't want to get involved in this at first, but since Huaijuan had spoken up, Lin Yi had no reason to refuse. Thank you, Eagle. Huaijuan sighed in relief. Lin Yi wasn't one to make promises easily, but once he did, he'd do his best to keep it. Oh, I'll hang up first. I'll think about what to do. Lin Yi didn't say anything and hung up the phone. If he wanted to find Lingshan, he'd have to help Jiang Wen. It seemed like he really did have to go look for Jiang Wen. Whether or not he cut someone else's kidney had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Even if Lin Yi knew about it, he wouldn't do it. But now that it was related to Lingshan, and Lin Yi didn't like this Jiang Wen. He could see that the miss was annoyed with him, so he'd have to take care of him. What's wrong? Are you okay? Tang Yin heard the gist of it, but she couldn't hear it clearly, so she asked worriedly. It's nothing. A friend went missing and asked me to help look for her. Lin Yi said, let's ignore her for now. Let me take a look at your head. It's almost healed. Tang Yin was a little shy, avoiding Lin Yi's gaze. She lowered her head, not daring to look at him. Oh, not bad. There aren't any scars left. Otherwise, it wouldn't look good in the future. Lin Yi was satisfied with his medicine. If there's a scar, will you still want me? Tang Yin really wanted to know the answer. Your worry is unnecessary. It can be removed even if you keep it, Lin Yi said. Oh. Tang Yin was a little disappointed. She didn't hear the answer she wanted. She didn't know why Lin Yi liked her. Was it because of her looks or something else? It was a very uneasy feeling. But Lin Yi didn't understand girls and didn't notice Tang Yin's disappointment. Right, how's the relocation of the slums going? Lin Yi asked. It's temporarily stopped. I heard from Lu Xinwen that there's no news. A lot of people are waiting and watching. Tang Yin couldn't help but find it funny. They all think that the Qibing skyscraper collapsed because of quality problems. So, they won't even move now. Huh, let's not care about them for now. Lin Yi wasn't too interested in whether Zhao Qibing would demolish the buildings or not. However, he could look for him and ask for some compensation. Why don't you go to school with your employer? Tang Yin was still very vigilant towards Meng Yao and Yushu. There are people who pick them up. Lin Yi shrugged. Oh, when do you want to stay? Tang Yin asked. I'm not sure. It depends on my old man. Lin Yi shook his head. You seem to be very hostile towards them. I'm not. Tang Yin didn't admit it. When they arrived at school, Lin Yi and Tang Yin separated in front of the classroom. Everyone in the school knew about their relationship. Tang Yin didn't need to avoid them. Plus, with Meng Yao and Yushu's sudden addition, Tang Yin was on high alert. Chapter 639. Chapter 639. Tang Yun's sense of danger. If Meng Yao didn't like Lin Yi, why would she ruin her own reputation? She was a girl from a respectable family. How could she not care? There was only one possibility. She really did like Lin Yi. That's why she said those things. Especially when Meng Yao whispered something in Tang Yun's ear before she left. It made Tang Yun even more vigilant. She said that she wanted to pursue Lin Yi. Tang Yun didn't know how she should fight with Meng Yao, and she didn't know if she should fight or not. It all depended on Lin Yi's attitude. If Lin Yi didn't like Meng Yao, then Tang Yun wouldn't be worried, but Lin Yi's attitude was a bit ambiguous. He probably had feelings for Meng Yao and Yushu. This was the source of danger for Tang Yun. They lived under the same roof, and it was inevitable that feelings would grow. Now, she could only take it one step at a time. Lin Yi came to the classroom and looked at his empty desk. He suddenly thought of Xiao Xiao. He hadn't seen her in a while. It had been so many days since he came back from Yanjing, and Xiao Xiao still hadn't come back. Was she still in Yanjing? Lin Yi wanted to send a text to greet her. After all, their relationship had improved a bit, and it wasn't as tense as before. But thinking about Xiao Xiao's personality, he put down his phone. She was the type of person who'd go with the flow, who knew what she would do if he took the initiative to contact her. Lin Yi was thinking about Xiao Xiao when Xiao Xiao's text came. Lin Yi, why haven't you contacted me in so long? Do you not have me in your heart? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the message. He didn't know how to reply. Busy. When are you coming back? Xiao Xiao was sitting on the hospital bed, bored out of her mind. Tianlong had returned and was by her side. Xiao Xiao, you're texting a friend? Tianlong was surprised to see his daughter's message. Because Feng Tianlong knew that his daughter didn't have many friends, almost none of whom she could contact through text messages. That was because other than her friends who raced with her, she had no real friends. Oh, it's Lin Yi. You met him before. Xiao Xiao didn't hide it. Lin Yi. Tianlong's eyes lit up. Are you close with him? It's all right. Xiao Xiao was a little annoyed at how Lin Yi was changing the topic. Busy? Busy with what? Was he busy dating Tang Yin or being Meng Yao and Yushu's follower? He's really not your boyfriend? Tianlong suddenly asked. Ah, Xiao Xiao's heart skipped a beat as her face heated up. Had her father noticed something? Her father had asked a similar question before, but Xiao Xiao had denied it. Why was he bringing it up again today? But Xiao Xiao remembered her body's condition and decided to go all out. Not yet for now. Not yet? Tianlong's heart skipped a beat. Trying to date. I'm going after him. Xiao Xiao never had a good relationship with her father, and she never had the image of a good girl. She'd never had a boyfriend before, but when it came to this topic, she was a little shy at first, but after a while, she was more open about it. I wish you success. Tianlong wanted his daughter to find a boyfriend. Even if they didn't get married, they should at least have a child first. He didn't want to lose his daughter and die alone. Having a grandson or granddaughter would be something to rely on, and Lin Yi was someone he liked, so he approved of Xiao Xiao going out with him. It's not success yet. It's not even set in stone yet. Maybe I'll die before I even catch up. Xiao Xiao wasn't worried about life and death anymore. We've wasted so many days of our time again. We could have used that time to come to the hospital every day. The final result isn't out yet, is it? Maybe there's a way. Feng Tianlong didn't have much confidence when he said this. In fact, he already predicted that the result this time would be the same as every other time. But he didn't want to give up until there was a final conclusion. So boring. Xiao Xiao fell back on the bed and continued texting Lin Yi. Lin Yi replied a couple of messages to Xiao Xiao, and it was time for class. He closed his phone and put it in his desk. Xiao Xiao's messages, on the other hand, were like a stone thrown into the ocean. Xiao Xiao was very pissed off. Lin Yi, you're too lazy to even text me. Huh? Yao sis, according to my observation, Shield Bro came with Tang Yin today. Yushu used her spy skills again. Oh, Meng Yao replied faintly. What does that have to do with us? Don't mind him. But, aren't you going after Shield Bro? You've already challenged Tang Yin. If we don't do anything, Tang Yin might think we're scared and give up. Yushu provoked. Let her think what she wants. Meng Yao wouldn't fall for it. She knew that only Pin Liang and Jiang Wen would fall for Yushu's tricks. Oh, Yushu was a little dejected. Yao Yao wouldn't budge no matter what she said, so she could only give up. Meng Yao had been paying attention in class, but Yushu's words messed up her mind. She rejected Yushu's suggestion, but her heart couldn't calm down at all. Meng Yao didn't even realize it until the end of class, still staring at the textbook in front of her. Yao Yao. Yushu waved her hand in front of Meng Yao. What? Meng Yao said, startled. She snapped back to reality and glared at Yushu. Are you trying to scare me to death? Yao Yao, are you in love? Yushu looked at Meng Yao curiously. What love? What are you talking about? Meng Yao's heart tightened as she looked at Yushu fiercely. The TV says that when women are in a daze, it means that they're in love. Just like you, Yao Yao, Yushu said. You believe whatever the TV says? Why don't you believe in TV shopping? Meng Yao, naturally, wouldn't admit that she was in love. She didn't think she'd die from it. At most, she'd be angry at Lin Yi for flirting with girls while working. It would be forgivable if it was Shu, but it was Tang Yun. Meng Yao was pissed just thinking about it. Oh, then what were you doing just now, Yao Yao? Yushu asked with a nod. Chapter 640. Pin Liang's mission. Pin Liang had a heavy responsibility today, and that was to poison Yushu. Although it was against the law, Pin Liang didn't feel any guilt at all. To him, the more damaging something was, the better it was. He was more than happy to cause some trouble in the school. Now that his uncle was no longer a shareholder of the school, it would be best if something bad happened to the school. His love for Meng Yao had turned into hatred, and it was the same for Lin Yi. With Jiang Wen as his love rival, Pin Liang didn't dare to have any thoughts about Meng Yao anymore. However, not pursuing Meng Yao didn't mean that he didn't hate Meng Yao. This time, he was going to make Peng Zhan pay for this, and let Meng Yao experience the feeling of turning from a high and mighty princess to a poor Cinderella. Only after experiencing a huge change could a person be enlightened. At this moment, Pin Liang finally understood that Meng Yao was just messing with him. She never liked him. Even if Meng Yao didn't do it herself, she allowed Yushu to do it. These two girls, as well as Lin Yi, he would never let them go. And Jiang Wen. The day Zhang Naipeo leaves the mountain will be the day of your death. The wounds on Pin Liang's body had recovered. Through Yao Wang, Fabai had asked for some Dr. Kang's medicine. Other than losing a kidney, Pin Liang was fine. However, when he returned to school, Pin Liang noticed that his classmates were looking at him weirdly. He didn't know if it was because he was too sensitive or because everyone was laughing at him for losing a kidney. Either way, Pin Liang was extremely unhappy. This humiliation would be washed away sooner or later. The Pin Liang now was different from before. After this incident, he had matured and become more stable. He understood that if he wanted to take revenge, he needed absolute strength. Without absolute strength, he couldn't fight Lin Yi and the others head-on. Of course, this wasn't to let Lin Yi go, but to play dirty. He didn't believe that Lin Yi and Peng Zhan would have a mental breakdown if he didn't play along. Before the last class of the morning, Pin Liang and Xiaofu skipped class together. Pin Liang didn't hide this from Xiaofu. As his other confidant, Xiaofu had done a lot of bad things with him, so there was no way he'd betray him. Brother Liang, when the time comes, we'll split up and scatter these things in the cafeteria, right? Gao Xiaofu asked as he looked at the small bottles in his hand. Yeah, I'll take 4 and you take 3. We'll split up so we won't attract attention. Pin Liang nodded. But does this thing really work, Brother Liang? Gao Xiaofu didn't believe that the originally harmless vials in his hands had turned into a highly toxic poison after being mixed together. Of course, you don't know this, but this poison was created by a legendary hermit master. It's called Deadly 7 Herbs Poison, and it's made from 7 different herbs. It's colorless and odorless, and 1 herb alone won't have any poison. Only when all 7 of them are eaten together will it turn into a deadly poison. It's extremely secretive, and it's a must-have for murder, Pin Liang said proudly. Holy sh*t, that's so awesome. If the students who ate all 7 dishes at the same time were to die, wouldn't they? Dao Xiaofu exclaimed. That's true. Even if the forensic doctor comes, they won't be able to find anything. If they take out a single dish and test it, there's no poison in it. Even if they send the students to the hospital, there's no antidote. They can only wait for death in the hospital. Pin Yang nodded. But we wouldn't be able to harm Pingzhan if the forensics team couldn't find anything. Even the hospital would be able to confirm that the food wasn't poisoned. Wouldn't the school have nothing to do with the poisoning? Xiaofu asked, feeling that something wasn't quite right with the situation. Idiot! Don't you know what's the scariest thing in the world? Pin Liang said with disdain. The unknown. Only the unknown is the scariest thing. Why are people afraid of ghosts? Because ghosts are unknown. No one has seen what they look like, so everyone is afraid of them. Similarly, even if the hospital found out that the students ate the poisoned food, how much impact would it have on Pingzhan? He's a victim, poisoned as well. If he had to pay some money, people might even say that he's a good guy and a victim. But what if there's no poison in the food? That's right. Xiaofu understood. There's no poison in the food but the students? That's even scarier. So, before this riddle is solved, which parent would dare to send their child to school? What if they get poisoned again? All the parents would band together and make a fuss, and Pengzhan would be in a lot of trouble. Pinliang said. Plus, the hospital didn't even find out the cause of the poisoning, so Pengzhan would have to take responsibility. The students were poisoned in school, so who else would the parents turn to if not Pengzhan? He'd have to pay for it. Huh, you're right. It seems like I'm not as thorough as you, Liang bro. Xiaofu sighed. All right, let's go and poison the food. The cafeteria should be ready by now, Pinyang said proudly after hearing Xiaofu's words. All right, let's go poison the food. Before Gubong resigned, Pin Liang was a regular at the cafeteria. He'd come early to eat. He often skipped classes, so he didn't have to wait until the last period to eat. Plus, he was the nephew of the school director, so the cafeteria manager didn't want to piss him off. Pin Liang was spending money anyway, so he just had to open the cafeteria a little earlier. He wouldn't lose anything. As usual, Pin Liang brought Xiaofu to the entrance of the cafeteria. The cafeteria wasn't open yet. Pin Liang knocked on the door of the cafeteria, and a worker came running out. He quickly opened the door and let Pin Liang in. Gubong had left, but that was something only the higher-ups knew about. Even the cafeteria manager might not have gotten the news right away, let alone the cafeteria workers. They thought that Pin Liang had the backing of the school board, and they didn't want to piss him off. Chapter 641. Canteen poisoning. Pin Liang calmed down when he saw that these people didn't seem to know about his uncle's resignation. He waved his hand and said, I went out to eat a while ago. You go back to your work. I'll go to the kitchen and see what they have today. All right, Master Zhong. The waiter nodded and went back to his work, ignoring Pin Liang. It wasn't the first time Pin Liang went to the kitchen anyways. The canteen was still preparing to open for business, so the dishes weren't brought out yet. They were all placed in the kitchen. Even if Pin Liang wanted to eat, he would choose the dishes in the kitchen. Pin Liang pushed open the kitchen door and walked in arrogantly. He let out a sigh of relief when he saw that the chef was the only one in the kitchen. Most of the time, the chef wasn't the only one in the kitchen. There were also choppers and bakers, but there was only one dish left today. The others had gone out to help clean up the tables and chairs in preparation for business. In order to save money, a high school cafeteria didn't have that many waiters. Most of them were part-timers. Pin Yang turned to the chef who was preparing the last dish and asked, How's the food today? Is there anything good? The chef turned around and saw that it was Pin Liang, but he didn't mind. He didn't like people who relied on their family's power, but he was still working in someone else's territory, even if he had a skill. So what if he relied on his hands to make a living? They could just fire him and hire a new chef. Therefore, the chef said, There's only one dish left, the stewed pork ribs and potatoes. It'll be ready soon. The rest is ready. Have a look yourself. Oh, they'll try it first. See if it's good. Pin Liang walked to the chef's side and looked at the stewed ribs and potatoes in the pot. Go get me a bowl and give me a piece of ribs. I want to try it. All right, wait. The chef had no choice but to leave the kitchen to get a bowl for Pinliang. The utensils weren't in the kitchen, but in the disinfection room. Pinliang waited for the chef to leave before quickly taking out a small bottle from his pocket. He opened the lid and poured the powdered poison into the pot of stewed pork ribs and potatoes. Xiaofu, on the other hand, wasn't idle either. He started pouring poison into the other dishes. The utensils were still being sterilized, and the chef had to close the cabinet before he could take them out. This was enough time for Pinliang and Xiaofu to work. The two poured all the poison into the pot, but the chef wasn't back yet. The school's daily menu consisted of 6 dishes and 1 soup, just right. 7 bottles of poison were just right. If there was one less dish, it would be difficult to operate. In fact, there were very few people who would order 6 dishes and 1 soup for a meal. Apart from those rich people, almost no one would do so. However, many students who were close to each other would gather at a table in groups of 3 to 5. Each person would buy 1 or 2 different dishes, and they would be able to gather 6 dishes and 1 soup. This kind of situation was very common among students, and it greatly increased the chances of being poisoned. When the chef came back with the utensils, Pinliang was already standing next to the pot of stewed pork ribs and potatoes. He said impatiently when he saw the chef, "Why are you so slow? Hurry up, I can't wait." The utensils are in the disinfection cabinet. It's not convenient to take them out. The chef explained with a bitter smile. "Master Zhong, why don't you try it now?" "Yes, hurry up." Pinliang nodded and pointed to the pot. "This rib, this one. It's fatty." The chef quickly scooped out the rib Pinliang wanted and handed it over. Pinliang impatiently put the rib into his mouth, yelling, "Delicious. Give us 2 portions of this stewed pork ribs and that egg soup. Give us 2 bowls too. 1 dish and 1 soup." The chef looked at Pinliang, uncertain. Why did Pinliang order these 2 dishes this time? With Pinliang's personality, he wouldn't order everything, but at least 3 or 4. "I don't really like the others." "Hurry up, give me more meat," Pinliang said impatiently. Okay. The chef realized that Pinliang didn't like the others. No wonder. He quickly got them 2 portions of stewed pork ribs and 2 bowls of egg soup. Pinliang and Xiaofu took 2 steamed buns each and sat down. "Liang bro, there's poison in the food. Can we still eat it? We can't die, right?" Xiaofu was scared and didn't dare move his chopsticks. "Fuck, I would have died if I could die. I just finished the ribs." Pinliang curled his lips. "Oh, but there's still egg soup, right? We can't be poisoned if we eat both, right?" Xiaofu was still worried. "You idiot, I wouldn't eat it if I could be poisoned." Pinliang glared at him. Yaowang said that if you eat these 2 herbs together, not only will it not be poisonous, but it can also strengthen the kidney and boost the yang energy. "I see." Xiaofu nodded, but didn't dare move his chopsticks. "Hurry up and eat. We're here to poison the food, and if we don't eat something before we leave, people might suspect us," Pinliang said as he started eating. Xiaofu had no choice but to bite the bullet. After a few bites, he felt that the food was delicious, and there wasn't anything wrong with his body, so he started eating. After eating, Pinliang left with Xiaofu. After all, they had just poisoned the food, and it wasn't good to stay in the cafeteria for too long. "Boss, what are you thinking about?" Xiaobo turned around to see Lin Yi frowning as the last class of the morning ended. It was lunch break, and Xiaobo asked curiously. It was the last semester of 12th graders, and time was precious. Kong Xiaobo had to study hard, so he spent the whole morning reading books other than greeting Lin Yi. "Nothing, let's go eat." Lin Yi was thinking of an excuse to get close to Jiang Wen and ask about Ling Shan. Lin Yi had promised Huaijuan that he would help, but he didn't have a starting point. If it was before, Lin Yi would have barged into Jiang Wen's house and asked for Ling Shan, or he'd kill him if he didn't give it to him. But now wasn't the time. Even if he killed him, he had to find a way to do it discreetly. He couldn't get involved with Ling Shan. Chapter 642. Be in a dilemma. No, I'll call her. Lin, he said as he walked out of the classroom with Kong Xiaobo. He was about to make a call when he saw Xinwen pulling Tang Yun out of the classroom. Lin smiled and put down the phone. He walked over with Kong Xiaobo. Let's go to the cafeteria together. Tang Yun combed the hair on her forehead and nodded slightly. The scar on his head had already disappeared, and there was no sign of injury at all. Lin, I heard you broke Xiao Qibing's legs? Lu Xinwen was a violent person, and she admired Lin for breaking Xiao Qibing's leg. When Qibing came to the slums to show off, Xinwen had wanted to pick up a knife and fight him to the death. She was violent, but she wasn't an idiot. She knew that Qibing had Bodyguard around him, and she wouldn't be able to do anything to him even if she went. Xinwen was very angry and worried that Tang Yun's face was disfigured, but Lin broke Xiao Qibing's leg, so she could vent her anger. However, Lin was injured that night, and Tang Yun and Meng Yao were at loggerheads with each other, so Xinwen didn't have the chance to ask Lin. Yes, I did. I was the one who ordered his building to be demolished. Lin said faintly. To him, this kind of punishment wasn't much at all. Not killing Xiao Qibing was already letting him off easy. Holy shit, you're too awesome. According to the news, it collapsed because of poor quality. Xinwen naturally knew that Qibing's skyscraper had collapsed, but she didn't know that it was Lin who pushed it down because the news said that it collapsed on its own. Xinwen was puzzled at that time. Even if Xiao Qibing was a developer that was devoid of conscience, he shouldn't have turned his own skyscraper into a tofu dregs project. How retarded was he? Now, Lu Xinwen knew that the truth was not like that. But it's better this way. None of his houses will be sold. Xiaobo, on the other hand, didn't know about this and kept asking questions. He wasn't too surprised when he found out what had happened. Lin Yi's personality had always been like that. It was just that he'd caused a huge commotion this time. As the four of them talked, they walked towards the cafeteria. Suddenly, Lu Xinwen slowed down and whispered, Lin your miss is in front. Lin had actually noticed Meng Yao and Yushu not too far away from them. He only shrugged when he heard Xinwen's words. Xinwen, stop. Tang Yin pulled the corner of Xinwen's shirt, stopping her from continuing. Tang Yin didn't want to talk about Meng Yao all the time. Otherwise, people would think that she was scared of Meng Yao. While Xinwen was talking about Meng Yao, Yushu was also talking about Tang Yin. Yao Yao sis, according to my latest investigation, Shield Bro and Tang Yin are behind us. Yushu whispered to Meng Yao. Yao Yao sis, what should we do? Do you have any good ideas? Meng Yao frowned and asked. He is our follower. We will ask him to come and eat with us later. He will be our bodyguard. Yushu thought about it and said. Meng Yao hesitated. She didn't agree or disagree. She walked into the cafeteria and said, Go and order more dishes. Oh, Yao Yao sis, are you asking Shield Bro to come and eat with us? Yushu asked. Don't talk so much nonsense. Go, Meng Yao said. Yushu went and bought a plate of each dish. She also bought 3 bowls of egg drop soup. It was just enough for Lin Yi's portion. The students in the school all knew Yushu. No one fought with her when she went to buy the food. It didn't take long for her to get it back. She placed it on the table. At the same time, Lin and Tang Yin walked into the cafeteria. Lin Meng Yao waited for Lin to come in and shouted, Come here. Originally, Meng Yao wanted Yushu to call Lin but when she saw Tang Yin, she couldn't help but remember what she said to her that night. Her competitive spirit rose. Lin didn't expect the miss to call him at this time. He paused and looked at Tang Yun apologetically. At this moment, Tang Yun's face didn't look good. She didn't expect Meng Yao to call Lin in the school. Also, this kind of arrogant tone made Tang Yun uncomfortable. Even if Lin was working for you, you didn't have to shout him like this, right? Although Lin was helpless, he still walked over. Tang Yin followed behind Lin. She nervously held Lu Xinwen's hand. She was afraid that Meng Yao would see through it. Tang Yin raised her head and refused to show weakness. Sit down and eat with us. Meng Yao pointed at the seat next to Yushu and said to Lin, Lin, he smiled bitterly. If he sat here, what about Tang Yin? Tang Yin felt wronged and angry. She glared at Meng Yao. She didn't understand why Meng Yao was so domineering. Why did she have to go against her? She could tell that Meng Yao was targeting her. Even if Lin E is your bodyguard, it's lunch break now. You should have your own space, right? Lu Xinwen was also a little angry. She knew Lin Yi's identity. Tang Yin didn't refute, but she had a fiery temper. He wants to protect us while we eat. Ming Yao said word by word. Yeah, what if someone tries to assassinate us while we are eating? What if someone tries to poison us? Yushu was always on Ming Yao's side. As soon as Ming Yao opened her mouth, Yushu immediately rushed forward. Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen were speechless. They were eating in the school's cafeteria. How could someone try to assassinate them? However, even though this reason was somewhat unimaginable, it was indeed justifiable. Tang Yun didn't say anything. She only bit her lips and looked at Lin Yi. However, the more Tang Yun didn't say anything, the more Lin Yi couldn't bear to let Tang Yun eat alone. Before Miss and Tang Yun met, everything was fine. Who knew that after they met, Miss would go crazy and start fighting with Tang Yun? Lin Yi was helpless. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to choose. On one side was his employer, and on the other side was his girlfriend. His phone rang. Lin Yi relaxed. He didn't know what to say. It was a good opportunity to have a phone call. Lin Yi smiled as he looked at the caller ID. He was just wondering what reason he should use to call Jiang Wen, but Jiang Wen called him first. Chapter 643. Was there a problem with the alcohol? Bro Lin Yi, where are you? Jiang Wen's voice sounded normal, not at all unhappy, but that was exactly why Lin Yi was alarmed. I'm at school and bro, what's up? Lin Yi smiled coldly. This Jiang Wen was probably going to cause trouble again. Haha, I drank too much last night, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm sorry. Jiang Wen smiled. Are you free? Come out for dinner? Now? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, I'm at the entrance of Sangshan first. What do you think? Jiang Wen smiled. Sure, wait for me, I'll go out now. If Lin Yi didn't have a grudge against Jiang Wen, he'd probably be thanking him right now. Jiang Wen's phone call helped Lin Yi out of his predicament, giving Lin Yi an excuse to leave. After hanging up, Lin Yi turned to Tang Yun and Ming Yao. I have something to do. You guys eat first? Oh, shield bro. You didn't set your phone as an alarm, did you? You didn't want to eat with us, did you? Yushu asked. It's Jiang Wen. Lin Yi was already used to Yushu. Ming Yao didn't say anything. Since Lin Yi had something to do, it wouldn't be good for her to stop Lin Yi from leaving. She said faintly, then be careful. Tang Yun let out a sigh of relief. Lin Yi had something to do, so he didn't have to make a choice. In fact, Tang Yun was very nervous as well. After all, Ming Yao was Lin Yi's employer. If she insisted on eating with them, Tang Yun would be angry, but she knew the bigger picture. She wouldn't force Lin Yi to let go, but that would make Tang Yun feel uncomfortable, as if she had lost to Ming Yao. But now that Lin Yi had something to do, this situation could be avoided. Go if you have something to do. I'll eat by myself. Tang Yun smiled, trying to make her smile happier and prouder. I'll contact you by phone. Lin Yi nodded, then turned around and walked out of the cafeteria. You've ordered so many dishes. What a waste. Xinwen looked at Ming Yao's table and teased. No one's eating with you guys anymore. What a waste of food. Can't we eat it ourselves? Ming Yao glanced at Yushu. Shu, let's finish all these dishes. Oh, but I don't dare eat too much. I'll die again. Yushu said, a little scared as she remembered how she ate last time. Then I'll eat. Ming Yao didn't want Xinwen and Tang Yin to look down on her. She picked up the chopsticks and started eating. Xinwen curled her lips and pulled Tang Yin to another table with Kong Xiaobo. Kong Xiaobo, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. He only came back to his senses when Xinwen pulled him. Bossing them? Kong Xiaobo didn't know about the relationship between Lin Yi, Ming Yao, and Yushu. Xinwen explained to him as they walked. The situation was complicated, and it wasn't something that could be explained in a few words. Lin Yi left the school and saw Jiang Wen's car parked in front of the school gate. Jiang Wen pressed the horn twice and stuck his head out. Lil bro Lin Yi, over here. Lin Yi got in the car, and Jiang Wen started the engine, I'm sorry about yesterday. I drank too much and lost my composure. Let's eat and talk. Up to you. Lenny could roughly guess that Jiang Wen didn't have any good intentions. Yushu's words yesterday almost made Jiang Wen go berserk, and from the faint hatred in Jiang Wen's eyes, Lenny knew that Jiang Wen was already treating him as a love rival. But he didn't bother to explain. He was here to find out Ling Shan's whereabouts. Jiang Wen nodded. Starlight Hotel, it's just the two of us. Let's talk. On the way, Jiang Wen chatted with Lenny, but he didn't say anything important. Lenny didn't mind. The car stopped in the parking lot of Starlight Hotel, and the two got off the car. Under Jiang Wen's guidance, they went to a room that was a little smaller than yesterday's. Evidently, the food was pre-ordered by Jiang Wen. In the room, the wine was already prepared, and the dishes were served not long after the two sat in the room. Lil bro Lenny, let me toast to you first. Take it as a punishment for my lack of composure yesterday. Jiang Wen raised his glass and drained it. He didn't raise his glass. He waited for Jiang Wen to finish before asking, "And bro, is there something you want to talk to me about?" "Indeed, but, lil bro Lenny, let's drink first. We'll talk about other things later." With that, Jiang Wen poured a glass of wine for and filled his own as well. "Come, let's have a drink." Lenny nodded and picked up his glass. However, the jade on him reacted immediately and started to warn him. He smiled coldly in his heart. Jiang Wen really wasn't willing to give up. He was trying to do something to him again. However, he didn't expose him. He still raised his glass and took a sip of the wine. Then, he put the glass down and started to think of a plan. What Jiang Wen put in the glass was a very common knockout drug. After drinking it, the person would feel drowsy and pass out soon after. Mystic Class wasn't strong enough to force the poison out of his body. Without the help of needles, he wouldn't be able to expel the poison out of his body. As a result, he wasn't stupid enough to drink the drug directly. This drug was very common. Lin Yi's antidote could neutralize it. When he was on a mission in the forest in Africa, there were a lot of hallucinogenic plants and poisonous insects. If he didn't have this kind of drug with him, it would be very dangerous. However, after returning to the city, this situation didn't exist anymore. He didn't bring the antidote with him. He was regretting it now. "What's wrong, lil bro Lin? Are you not going to give me face?" Jiang Wen saw that he didn't finish the wine in one gulp and put it down instead. "Bro, I don't feel safe. Is there a problem with the wine this time?" He pretended to be worried and asked. Chapter 644. Chapter 644. He fainted really? He didn't seem to believe it. "There's nothing wrong with the cup, right?" "I say, Lenny bro, you sure are cautious." Jiang Wen shook his head with a smile. "But it's fine. If you think there's something wrong with the cup, we can swap. You use my cup and I use yours?" "I'm not swapping. I'll drink your cup. How's that?" "Sure." With that, he stood up with his cup in hand and walked to Jiang Wen. He crouched down and placed his free hand on Jiang Wen's shoulder, as if he was afraid that he'd fall. He looked at Jiang Wen's cup for a while before swapping his cup with Jiang Wen's and returning to his seat. "Lenny bro, you're hurting my pride by doing this. I don't mean to hurt you, but you're thinking of me like this. All right, let's drink." Jiang Wen raised the cup he had just swapped and drank it all in one gulp. In actuality, Jiang Wen had drugged the wine, but he'd taken the antidote beforehand, so the drug had no effect on him. "Seems like I'm being too careful." He laughed at himself before raising his cup. Between Lin Yi's fingers, however, was a pill-like object. It was from a small bottle he'd gotten from Jiang Wen's pocket. He first licked the pill between his fingers, confirming that it was the antidote. He then swallowed the antidote while drinking. This saved a lot of energy. With the antidote in his hand, he didn't have to think of anything else. Otherwise, he might have to sneak a few needles into his body while drinking. He didn't have the antidote, but he had his needles with him. Jiang Wen smiled to himself when he saw that he was finally willing to drink. "You may be cunning, but you didn't expect me to be so smart, did you? I didn't drug you only in your wine glass, but all of it. I just took the antidote first. Lil bro your big brother like Meng Yao? You know that, so I won't say much. I invited you here today because I want you to tell me one thing. What's your relationship with Meng Yao? Jiang Wen had made up his mind to deal with Lin Yi, but he still wanted to confirm the relationship between Lin Yi and Meng Yao. Didn't I say it before? She's my employer, Lin Yi said indifferently. But why did Yushu say that Yao Yao and you? Jiang Wen wasn't happy that Lin Yi wouldn't admit to it. Meng Yao didn't confirm Yushu's words yesterday, but she didn't deny it either. From Jiang Wen's point of view, Lin Yi and Meng Yao's relationship was very close. She's always been like that, don't you know? Lin Yi shrugged. Is that so? It seems that Lil Bro Lin Yi still thinks of me as an outsider. You don't want to tell me the truth. Jiang Wen was even more annoyed that Lin Yi wouldn't admit to it. I'm not an unreasonable person. If there's really something going on between you and Meng Yao, I'll give you my blessings as long as Meng Yao is willing. Thank you, at least for now. I don't know if there'll be anything in the future. Lin Yi didn't need to lie to Jiang Wen. Forget it. Let's drink. Jiang Wen raised his glass again. Lin Yi clinked his glass with Jiang Wen's and drank it all in one gulp. It was about time. The drug should be taking effect soon. Lin Yi held his forehead. And bro, isn't the alcohol going to my head? Why do I feel dizzy? No way. Isn't this the law fight we drank yesterday? Why would it go to my head? Jiang Wen knew that the drug was working just by looking at Lin Yi's face. He was overjoyed but put on a weird look on his face. What's going on? Although Jiang Wen really wanted to point at Lin Yi right now and yell, "Who told you to steal Meng Yao from me? I'll cut off your kidney and see how you're going to fight me then." But Jiang Wen didn't dare to do that. He knew how strong Lin Yi was. He was at least a golden class master. He was afraid that Lin Yi would attack him the moment he fainted. But I'm really dizzy. Lin Yi fainted on the table. Lin Yi was an expert in medicine. He knew the effects of drug poisoning like the back of his hand. Jiang Wen couldn't see through his act. Plus, the drug was administered by Jiang Wen himself. Naturally, he wouldn't suspect that Lin Yi was faking it. Seeing that Lin Yi had fainted, Jiang Wen was overjoyed. He took out his phone and called the tattooed guy who was waiting nearby. "Come in. He has fainted. Help me get him out of here," Jiang Wen said and hung up. After a while, the tattooed guy pushed the door open. "When bro, it's done?" "Yes, it's done. Help me get him out." Jiang Wen stood up and pointed at Lin Yi. The tattooed guy nodded and carried Lin Yi out of the room with Jiang Wen. There were a lot of customers and waiters in the hotel, but no one paid attention to Jiang Wen and the tattooed guy. After all, there were a lot of drunk people here. Some were being helped out by their friends, some were being dragged out, and some were being carried out. No one cared if Lin Yi had fainted or was drunk. "Lin Yi, you didn't expect this, did you? Going against me? I'll let you have a taste of losing a kidney," Jiang Wen said as he glared at Lin Yi in the back seat after getting in the car. "When bro, will there be any problem if we cut off his kidney? Will he call the police after he finds out about us?" The tattooed guy asked worriedly. After all, Lin Yi knew Jiang Wen. If he lost a kidney, Jiang Wen would be the first suspect. He won't. This kid is not a good person. He has killed many people before. He won't call the police. Jiang Wen didn't believe that Lin Yi would call the police. Si Hua said that 2 of his golden class masters died in Lin Yi's hands. Plus, if he asks, we'll just say that he was drunk and left him at the hotel. As for who cut off his kidney, he doesn't have any evidence. The tattoo guy nodded. Since Jiang Wen said that everything was fine, he wouldn't ask anymore. He started the car and drove to the HQ. Chapter 645. What a coincidence! If he didn't bring Lin Yi to his base, he would have to think of a way to follow Jiang Wen. But now, he didn't even need to follow Lin Yi anymore. Jiang Wen drove him to the HQ himself. "All right, has Dr. Wang made the arrangements?" Jiang Wen asked. "Yes, Dr. Wang is already in the operating room. He could do the surgery anytime." The tattooed guy said, "All right, the girl we caught yesterday, are we going to push her to the operating table as well?" "Oh, there's no rush. Let's cut off Lin Yi first. Lingshan will be at the back." Jiang Wen's hatred towards Lin Yi had reached a certain level. As for Lingshan, it was secondary. Lingshan is awake. Based on the time, she should be waking up soon, right? The tattooed guy calculated the time and said, then why don't you go in and get some knockout drugs? She's a golden class master, and even though our prison door is pretty sturdy, what if she escapes? Jiang Wen panicked. That's right. Okay, I'll make the arrangements now. The tattooed guy was shocked as well. He quickly called the Aquiline Nose guy. The Aquiline Nose guy had returned to the HQ yesterday. He was one of the tattooed guy's confidants, but he didn't know about Jiang Wen's existence. In fact, in the entire kidney trafficking organization, Jiang Wen was at the top of the pyramid. The only people who knew about him were the tattooed guy and Dr. Wong. Tattooed bro, what's up? The Aquiline Nose guy picked up the phone quickly. The girl we caught yesterday. Get her some knockout drugs. The tattooed guy ordered. Knockout drugs? Okay, I'll do it now. The Aquiline Nose guy was startled. Why was there a need for knockout drugs? Was there a need for knockout drugs when he was playing with women in the HQ's prison? Even if the girl screamed and screamed, it didn't matter. Yes, the Aquiline Nose guy suddenly realized that there were many types of knockout drugs. Could it be that the drug the tattooed guy was talking about was the aphrodisiac? The Aquiline Nose guy felt that it was highly possible. Otherwise, why would there be a need for knockout drugs? Therefore, the hook-nosed man did not dare to delay and hurriedly carried out the order. He was in the back of the car when he heard about Lingshan. It was quite a pleasant surprise. This was really a case of walking all over the place in iron shoes, only to find it by chance without even looking for it. So, Lingshan was locked in the dungeon. This was an important piece of information. The car slowly drove to a manor that looked like a villa. He remained unconscious. After entering the manor, he was pushed onto a stretcher and pushed into a white room. On one side of the wall was a pile of instruments. Jiang Wen put on a mask as well, disguising himself as a normal medical worker. His identity couldn't be exposed in this kidney trafficking organization. Lin Yi's finger was cut, and some blood samples were taken for testing. The reason why Lin Yi allowed these people to do what they wanted was because he had his own plans. These people wouldn't cause any harm to him, so Lin Yi might as well continue to pretend to be unconscious. As for Lingshan, Lin Yi was sure that before his kidney was cut, she would be safe, so Lin Yi was in a hurry. These medical workers came and went quickly. After checking Lin Yi's body and drawing his blood, they all left the room. Only the tattooed guy and Jiang Wen were left in the room. After a while, a medical worker wearing a white coat walked in again and passed a report to the tattooed guy. Boss, this person's kidney matches the one you asked us to pay attention to. Oh. The tattooed guy took the report from Lin Yi and was slightly stunned. He then waved his hand at the medical worker and said, "You can leave first." Yes. The medical worker left the room respectfully. Lin Yi's kidney is exactly what Zhong Pingliang needs. Don't you think it's a coincidence? The tattooed guy passed the report to Jiang Wen and said in surprise, "Oh, then I'll do him a favor. Go call Zhong Fabai and ask him to arrange a kidney transplant for Zhong Pingliang." Jiang Wen said excitedly, "I didn't expect that Zhong Pingliang lost a kidney because of Lin Yi, and now Lin Yi's kidney is given to him. What do you call this? This is karma. Okay, I'll go arrange it now." The tattooed guy nodded. "I'll get someone to change Lin Yi's clothes and push him to the operating table." "Yes, you change his clothes first. I'll push him to the operating table myself later." Jiang Wen looked at Lin Yi and smiled coldly. The tattooed guy went out to inform Zhong Fabai to come over and do the kidney transplant for Zhong Pingliang. On Lin Yi's side, a few people came over and helped Lin Yi change into a surgical gown. Jiang Wen sat at the side and stared coldly at Lin Yi, who was being manipulated by others. There was an indescribable satisfaction in his heart. "How dare you steal Meng Yao from me? This is your ending. Zhong Pingliang is like this, and Lin Yi will also be like this." Although he did give him a kidney this time, it was because of Zhao Qi being that he was willing to give face to Pingliang. However, the lesson was given. He believed that Zhong Pingliang wouldn't dare to touch Meng Yao in the future. Zhong Pingliang looked at the students entering the cafeteria one after another, and he felt a surge of satisfaction in his heart. Some of these students would probably be sent to the hospital later, right? Zhong Pingliang was about to report this good news to his father, but he didn't expect his father to call him first. Pingliang, where are you? Zhong Fabai's voice was a little nervous. After all, his son was doing a very dangerous crime. Did you complete it smoothly? Dad, I'm at the school field. Don't worry, Fu and I have completed the mission, Zhong Pingliang said proudly. That's good. Zhong Fabai breathed out in relief. Since it's done, I can report to Master Bing now. You have to be careful in school. Don't let anyone see through you. That's easy, Fu and I are normal, Zhong Pingliang said casually. He didn't care about the safety of other students at all. Fabai nodded and ended the call. He made an okay gesture to Tsihua. Pingliang has already put the poison into the food. We just need to wait and see what happens next. Tsihua nodded. Pingliang has already put the poison into the food. We just need to wait and see. Chapter 646. Too good news. Okay. Thanks for the trouble, Master Bing. Fabai nodded happily. In fact, if it wasn't for Tsihua's promise, Fabai wouldn't have let his son take the risk. After all, he only had one son, and he didn't want him to go to jail. As soon as Fabai finished his sentence, Tsihua's phone rang. Tsihua took out his phone and looked at it. It was Jiang Wen's underling, the tattooed guy. Hello. Tsihua quickly picked up the phone. After all, they were in a cooperative relationship, and Jiang Wen would bring him a lot of profits every month. Tsihua bro, it's me. Jiang Wen bro said that he has found a suitable kidney for Pingliang. He wants him to come over immediately for the kidney transplant. The tattooed guy said to Tsihua. Oh, found it already? That's great, thank you so much. Tsihua didn't expect that he would speak of the devil. He just told Fabai about finding a kidney for Pingliang, and Jiang Wen had already settled it. It's a win-win situation, the tattooed guy said. I will send a car to Floating Cloud Bar to pick up Pingliang in half an hour. Tsihua bro, you can make the arrangements. Okay, see you in half an hour. Tsihua hung up the phone and smiled at Fabai. Old Zhong, I have to congratulate you. Congratulate me? Congratulate me for what? Fabai's heart skipped a beat. He heard Tsihua say that he found something on the phone, but he didn't pay much attention to it. Now that Tsihua wanted to congratulate him, Fabai's heart started beating faster. He thought of a possibility that made him excited. Pingliang's kidney has been found. We can proceed with the kidney transplant now. Tsihua said, Jiang Wen will send a car over in half an hour. Tell Pingliang to wait at the Floating Cloud Bar. He can go there directly. Really? Fabai was very excited. He only had one son, and this was his only son. Although he didn't say anything, his heart still felt like it was blocked by a big stone every day. It was very uncomfortable. He wanted to solve it, but there was nothing he could do. He could only stop thinking about it. However, some things couldn't be solved without thinking. The reason why he let Pingliang take the risk to poison the school cafeteria was because Master Bing had promised him that he wouldn't let Pingliang do it for free. He would talk to Jiang Wen and ask him to find a compatible kidney for Pingliang so that he could implant a new kidney for Pingliang. As for whether or not Master Bing could greet him, and whether or not Jiang Wen would give him face after greeting him, Zhong Fabai couldn't control that. But it was better to have hope than no hope at all. But what he didn't expect was that Master Bing was so efficient. His son had just poisoned him, and he found a suitable kidney source right after. Master Bing never mistreats those who work for him, Tsihua said with a smile. As long as we follow in Master Bing's footsteps, we'll be living a good life. Yeah, Master Bing is really a good boss. He's worth following, Fabai said from the bottom of his heart. He was afraid that Master Bing was just using him and didn't take him seriously. But now, it seemed like Master Bing always remembered his difficulties. Even when he was lying on the sickbed with a broken leg, he didn't forget to help Pingliang find a kidney. I'll go thank Master Bing personally and show my loyalty. Fabai nodded. No need. Master Bing should be resting. Sahua waved his hand and said, You should call Pin Liang first and ask him to come over. Jiang Wen will send a car here soon. Don't delay the business. Of course, of course. Fabai agreed and said, I'll drive to pick up Pin Liang now. However, before Fabai left, Sihua's phone rang again. Sihua took it out and saw that it was still a call from the tattooed guy. So he made a gesture to Fabai, signaling him to wait for a while before leaving. Hello, tattooed bro. Is there anything else? Sihua picked up the phone. Haha, I almost forgot. I have a good news for Sihua bro. The tattooed guy said with a smile. Oh, there's another good news? What news? Sihua asked. When bro, I told Master Bing that the kidney for Pin Liang was taken from Lin Yi's body. The tattooed guy said faintly. What? Lin? Sihua was shocked at first, but then he became excited. I say, tattooed bro, is it true? You guys caught Linny? You guys are going to take his kidney? Ha, when bro has a grudge against him too, but his kidney just happened to be compatible with Pin Liang's. The tattooed guy laughed. I heard that he has a grudge against Master Bing and Sihua bro. It's not just a grudge. It's a huge grudge. Sihua said with hatred. I have to thank Masterin for this. No problem. I'll hang up first. I'll send a car over later. The tattooed guy suddenly remembered that he had a grudge against Sihua and Master Bing too. So he made another call to do them a favor. Sihua hung up the phone and was so happy that he almost jumped up. Lin, you have this day? Is it over? His kidney is going to be taken, right? Fabai was at the side, and this time he heard it clearly. When he heard that Lin Yi's kidney was going to be given to his son, he was so happy that his face was blooming. Sihua bro, from what I heard, they're going to give Lin Yi's kidney to Pin Liang. Huh, yeah, I didn't think that there would be such a coincidence, but it's great. I'll have to tell Master Bing about this as soon as possible and make him happy. Sihua said as he walked into the inner room of the bar to look for Master Bing. Zhao Qibing was sleeping, and he was pissed that Sihua woke him up. But when he heard the news that Lin Yi's kidney was going to be removed, he didn't feel sleepy anymore. If it weren't for the fact that his leg was broken, he would have jumped up from his bed and cheered. The person he hated the most was Lin Yi. No matter how Jiang Wen caught Lin Yi and how Lin Yi's kidney was going to be taken, he was still very happy. As long as Lin Yi was unlucky, he would be happy. It would be best if Lin Yi died in a car accident. Fabai also took the opportunity to express his gratitude and loyalty to Zhao Qibing. Chapter 647. Pin Liang's family, Dad. Why are you calling me again? Pin Liang didn't know why Fabai was calling him again after hanging up not long ago. Son, I have two great news for you. Fabai said excitedly. What good news? There are two more? Pin Liang could hear the excitement in his father's voice, but he didn't know what could make his father so excited, especially two good news. Son, the first good news is that you'll be able to regain your manhood very soon. Master Bing talked to Jiang Wen, and he's found you a suitable kidney. I'm going to school to pick you up and take you to the kidney transplant. Fabai said excitedly. I have a kidney? I finally have a kidney? Pin Liang almost dropped his phone. He couldn't believe it. Dad, did I hear it wrong? I'm going to be a healthy man soon? You didn't hear it wrong. I'm on the way to the school to pick you up. Fabai said, That's why, son, you didn't do this for nothing. We are working for Master Bing, and Master Bing is really considerate of us. We have a kidney now. Okay, I'll wait for you at the school gate. Pin Liang didn't care about Xiaofu's surprised look and ran to the school gate. Wait, son, this is only the first good news. There's another good news. Fabai was afraid that Pin Liang would hang up and quickly said, The second good news is even better than the first. There's more good news? What news could be better than this? Pin Liang was taken aback. As far as he was concerned, getting a compatible kidney and restoring his manhood was the best thing that could happen to him. How could there be anything better than this? The news is that the kidney you want is Lin Yi's. Fabai laughed. Lin Yi was captured by Jiang Wen, and coincidentally, his kidney is a match for yours. Wahaha! Pin Liang started laughing so hard that tears were coming out of his eyes. This is good news. It couldn't get any better than this. Lin Yi's kidney is going to be transferred to me? It felt so good. In the future, when I pick up girls, I will always think that Lin Yi has contributed to me. Wait for me. I'll pick you up from school. Fabai was happy to see his son so happy. Xiaofu chased after Pin Liang out of the school, confused. He saw Pin Liang smiling happily and couldn't help but ask after Pin Liang hung up, "Liang bro, what's wrong? Why are you smiling so happily?" "Haha, you don't know." Pin Liang hung up, still overjoyed. "Fu, I'm going to have a kidney soon. My dad just called and said that he's found a suitable kidney, and he's going to give me a transplant soon. Then I really have to congratulate Brother Liang." Gao Xiaofu hurriedly congratulated after hearing the news. "Yeah, I'm about to regain my masculinity. Let's see if those people still laugh at me for having only one kidney." Pin Liang nodded. "Other than that, there's another piece of good news. Guess whose kidney is going to be given to me?" "Whose?" Xiaofu was far away, so he didn't hear the conversation between Pin Liang and Fabai. "Haha, it's Lin Yi's," Pin Liang said excitedly. "Lin Yi's kidney is going to be given to me. Don't you think it's a good thing?" Xiaofu was stunned, but when he regained his composure, he started laughing with Pin Liang. It was indeed a good thing. Lin Yi was changed into a patient's gown. Jiang Wen dismissed the medical staff and personally pushed Lin Yi towards the surgery room. "Lin Yi, we didn't expect this, did you? Your kidney is going to be removed soon, and the funniest part is that it's going to be given to Zhong Pin Liang." In the preparation room, Jiang Wen couldn't help but mock Lin Yi, who was about to be taken advantage of. "Yeah, I didn't expect it, and I didn't expect it," Lin Yi said. "It's okay if you didn't expect it, but your kidney is going to be removed soon." "Huh?" Jiang Wen almost jumped up in fright. Why did Lin Yi talk like that? Wasn't he unconscious? Could it be that he was hallucinating? Just when Jiang Wen wanted to confirm if he was hallucinating, he saw Lin Yi sitting up from the stretcher and looking at him with a faint smile. Why are you awake?" Jiang Wen finally understood that he wasn't hallucinating. Otherwise, he wouldn't be hallucinating, right? Lin Yi really woke up. "I didn't faint in the first place." Lin Yi shrugged and said, "That's impossible. I clearly drugged the wine, so why didn't you faint?" Jiang Wen said as he slowly leaned towards the wall on the other side. There was an emergency button on it. Although Lin Yi woke up, Jiang Wen wasn't nervous other than being a little surprised. This was the headquarters of the kidney trafficking organization, and Jiang Wen didn't believe that Lin Yi could do anything. As long as he pressed the button, the preparation room would be filled with the drug. This was designed to prevent people who had their kidneys removed from exploding, but it had never been used before. "Your question is a little stupid. Why didn't you faint?" "Of course I didn't faint," Lin Yi said. "I have the antidote." Jiang Wen was willing to buy time with Lin Yi. He slowly leaned towards the wall. "Yes, you're right," Lin Yi nodded and said. "You have the antidote on you, and I took it." "Huh?" Jiang Wen suddenly remembered that Lin Yi did approach him once when they were drinking, and he even patted him a couple of times. Could it be that he stole the antidote from him at that time? "All right, you don't have to think about pressing the button anymore. Go to the operating table for the kidney transplant." With that, Lin Yi jumped up from the stretcher and struck Jiang Wen's neck with his hand. Jiang Wen didn't even make a sound before he fainted. Lin Yi controlled his strength very well. He couldn't kill Jiang Wen, but he wouldn't wake up anytime soon. Lin Yi massaged Jiang Wen's body casually. These were a few acupuncture points that could make Jiang Wen feel no pain when he fainted. Lin Yi wasn't sure if there would be anesthetics during the kidney transplant, and if the anesthetics would keep Jiang Wen unconscious. So, just to be safe, Lin Yi decided to do it himself for the success of the kidney transplant. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.